Good evening. Welcome to the Town of Douglas Conservation Commission. Meeting of April 22nd, 2024. This meeting is being recorded, broadcast by local programming with remote participation available as provided on our agenda. Is there anyone here recording tonight? I'm being seen. I hereby call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Members in attendance, roll call, please.
Mark Mungem.
Jim Foran.
Mike Greco.
Josiah Birch.
Joe Fitzpatrick. Absent members, we have anything from anybody?
I haven't heard anything from Kitty Grace, except that she texted me last week to say that she was going to come, but only after her baby was put to bed. So that's when she would probably be the best time for her to come.
Well, they planning on us being here that late or what?
I don't know. So,
Okay. And who else we missing? That's it, right?
I think that's it.
Okay,
yep.
all right. First item on the agenda. Okay. All right, Brandon, I gotta have you recuse yourself. First thing?
The on-call conservation consulting services, we'll sit out there. We'll just go in the hall.
Yeah. You can have the keys to your car, so you guys don't. All right, so you guys read the requirements for the on-call conservation. You got any discussion on it or anything you want to? No? Everybody's good with it? Does anybody from the audience have any? No? How about,
I believe this is me, Mark Allen, Allen Engineering and Associates.
yeah,
Is this the agenda item?
No, sir.
what's that?
No.
That's the next one.
Anybody from Zoom have anything?
Hey, Joe.
Hi, Matt.
Matt Benoit, Director of Community Development.
Yeah.
Here to answer any questions that the commission has on the draft RFP, and I can reach out to the town administrator if you have any questions for him directly. This was put together by our town administrator, and it's ready to go out for bid once the commission provides its blessing. Jen Kuchar, our admin assistant, reached out to all the members individually and made sure that you guys read this and understood it and had any questions for tonight.
Okay. Does anybody else got any questions for tonight? No?
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a written copy of this thing, and I can't figure out what it is. It says request for proposals on-call conservation consulting services.
Correct. So when Steve just left us last August,
Louder.
we were able to get Brandon on contract temporarily, but the procurement laws require us to go out for bids for a conservation agent, and that's what this is.
Yeah, I have the email if you want to.
They have to put out the bid for the agent services.
What?
They have to put it out to bid to have the agent, for the service of an agent, because he's not a full-time employee. So they put it out to bid, that's what it is. Anything else?
So, well, I don't, so how does this differ from what we have right now?
You want to take that, Matt?
Sure. So right now, Brandon is under a private contract, which was done up quickly because Steve just left. But we have to go out to bid to make, whether he submits a bid or not, that's totally within his purview. But we need to do this according to procurement laws, 30B. So that's what this is for. This wasn't ready back in August when this happened, so but it is ready now.
Okay.
All set? Any other questions?
So do we need to make a motion to approve the RFP?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I move that we approve the RFP for the on-call conservation consulting service.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the RFP. Roll call vote, please.
Mark Mungem, aye.
Jim Foreign, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Josiah Birch, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. The conflict of interest, we do that with Brandon here or no? Matt?
Yes.
Yes, he can come back in the room, please.
Okay. Well, you guys volunteer for a lot of stuff when you're out there.
Yeah?
I know how that works.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is
Thank you.
Allen Engineering, possible conflict of interest.
Yeah, I should probably take that.
Do we have somebody here from Allen Engineering? No?
We do. Mark Allen here from Allen Engineering on Zoom.
Yes. Do you want to, anything to start off with, or you want to jump in as you need it? Do you have anything?
Yeah, Yeah, I just wanted to make the commission aware that we had issued 2 letters, one on April 8th and one on April 12th. 2 of our current projects before this commission have been worked upon by Ecosystem Solutions new employees. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of that situation. We feel as if it's our obligation to let the commission know that if Ecosystem Solutions continues to work on the projects that are before you, there is a conflict of interest between your paid consultant, at least on our projects, the 4 that we outlined in the letters, and there's probably about a dozen more forthcoming. So we just wanted to make the commission aware. I did speak with Matt Benoit briefly about other options for the particular projects that will be coming before you, and I guess there's a couple of other consultants that we could use. And I guess in line with your previous agenda item, we can tackle these one at a time as they come through the commission. But I just want to make the commission aware of that position we have here.
All right, thank you. Brennan?
Yeah, I understand Mr. Allen's concerns, and if I need to recuse
Can hear you.
myself.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I understand Mr. Allen's concerns, and if I need to recuse myself, then I will. But he's right, yeah, I have a new employee, Margaret Bacon, who was previously working for Allen Engineering. I prepared an email to the commission. Just I want to state some facts about that, too. This is the synopsis of what I wrote to the commission last week. Number one, Margaret approached me. I did not approach her. Margaret is not a full-time payroll employee. She may become one in the future, but she is currently a private 1099 contractor. She will remain so until her ties with a job she worked on in the town of Douglas for Allen Engineering are approved, or until a time that the Board of Selectmen determines is appropriate, or perhaps more importantly, a time when Margaret deems it appropriate. Next is, I have yet to pay Margaret a dime for anything she has done for my firm. She does have an Ecosystem Solutions email address, a workstation at my office, and I have her working on public and private sector jobs in other parts of the state outside of the Blackstone Valley. She has access to my company's SharePoint/OneDrive work folders, which can be accessed remotely. She uses it from her home office, meaning that even though she has a workstation at my office, she usually does not use it exclusively. At the moment, I expect she will choose to be at the office 2 to 3 days a week, but I do not dictate her schedule or where she works from, as long as she gets the work done and has the tools that she needs to get the job done. She was set to start work on April 1st, but personal issues on her end prevented her from doing so. She has, however, started doing work on projects for me, again, not in the Blackstone Valley, on April 15th, which was Monday? Last week. The jobs mentioned in the letter, the two letters that Mr. Allen was saying were started by me, before she came into employment with my company, or came to an agreement on employment. There will be future stuff, and I could probably agree that, for example, 140 Davis Street is one that I should definitely step back from. 33 and 38 Caswell Court, we finished our review before she came on with my company. And I think there was one more that we finished the review before she came on to our company. And then there's going to be future ones coming in that, yeah, I agree, I should recuse myself, and there are other options. I absolutely think that I can be fair and impartial on these jobs, but understand completely Allen Engineering's concerns, and will recuse myself if required. I filed a Section 19 disclosure form with the town clerk, and, you know, I consider this to be a short-term loss, long-term gain for the town. She's a town resident, and ultimately, she cares very much, cares very deeply about the town. I think she's got a good skill set, she's got a great demeanor, and she can definitely be an asset if and when the time comes.
Okay. Yes,
Could you clarify something?
Yes.
Does that mean she doesn't work for Civil Site anymore?
Correct, yeah, she's, well, for what this is why she's still a 1099 employee, is that she said she may do the occasional septic system design, but she said the reason why she went to Allen Engineering is because, you know, she's in her mid-60s now, and the you know, being self-employed is very taxing, and she didn't want to go back to that, but she might still, you know, do a job or two here and there. So I think she's mostly going to be working on jobs that I give her, but she will have the opportunity to do some of her own stuff on the side, and that's our deal. Yeah.
Yeah, so if I could, just for the item agenda that's on before you tonight, we're just primarily just want to let you know of the current files that are out there and the ones that are forthcoming. And some of the ones that we've already talked through with Matt is Tim Lonergan's COC or order of conditions that was issued. That was agreed upon to be paid, but again, no further, you know, inspections or stuff that to do with the inspections or the as-bills. In addition to tonight, you're going to hear from the Caswell Court and RAD, obviously reviewed prior to the employment change, but any future NOIs should also be abstained from. So I think it's gonna work out eventually, but we just got to keep the commission aware as the projects come through the pipeline.
that's fine. Thank you. Anything else from anybody on the board? Anybody from the public have any questions or concerns? Is there anybody else from Zoom? Okay.
My
Good.
biggest concern is how many jobs Margaret Bacon has worked on and will be before us, and so therefore, how many jobs Brandon will have to recuse himself on.
From
Right now, there's about 4 or 5, and we probably have about 12 to 14 in the queue.
And we'll get somebody to fill in for them. That's what they said. So,
like I say, short-term loss, long-term gain, in my opinion. And there are other qualified consultants out there to be able to do that review.
But they wouldn't be here at the meeting, or they might be here at the meeting. I guess it would depend, wouldn't it?
Who would be here?
The consultant.
Well, they would most likely either be here in person or on Zoom. Yeah. And they would just, just per diem, per review, not the whole thing.
So Caswell Court,
That review was done, we're done. I have no more comments on that. It's on tonight, so I guess it's totally discretionary to Mr. Allen, if he wants me to be involved with it. I mean, obviously going forward, no, I won't be involved with the NOIs. I understand that, right? But maybe
Yes.
maybe we can finish off this ANRAD since there's no more comments.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're hoping for there. And we have Mike Dryden from Allen Engineering in the room tonight to hopefully close that out. We did all of the additional flagging and surveys to get that ANRAD closed out tonight. And our client has already paid the consultant fees for that project.
Yeah.
okay. So we'll move on. You guys don't have anything else, we'll move to the next agenda item.
Nothing else.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Additional meeting date of May 20th.
Right, so this is a meeting date where we would only be talking about enforcement issues.
So it's a late night.
There's only really 3. Yeah,
There's 4.
it's 4, yeah.
Guys want to look at your calendar, see,
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
they want to add May 20th, Mike.
Pardon?
They want to add May 20th.
Yeah, because we only have one meeting date in May.
20th as opposed to,
Not opposed to additional. So we're only scheduled May 13th, and after May 13th, the next one wouldn't be till June 3rd. So they want to add the additional one on May 20th for
For enforcement only.
enforcements.
Right, Mr. Chairman, the reason being, we have a lot of new applications coming up on May 13th, and we don't want to keep the commission there all night.
so does that mean, the back of the agenda says May 13.
Right, which is our next scheduled meeting from tonight.
Is it,
You'd be an
is that
additional.
still in play?
Yep,
Yes.
that still stays.
And where did May 20 come from?
That
They're
would be an
asking to
additional
add it.
one.
They want to add it because there's a lot of cases coming up,
Yeah.
and they don't want to have us here all night. So trying to do it all in 1 month, it's going to be tough.
Right.
All right,
Everybody in agreement?
Yeah.
We're looking for a motion to schedule that meeting in addition to our hearing schedule.
We get a motion?
I move that we schedule an additional Conservation Commission meeting for Monday, May 20th, 2024 at 7 PM.
Let's second that. Sorry.
We have a motion seconded to add May 20th as another meeting night. Can I get a roll call vote?
Mark Mungem,
Jim Fornine.
Mike Rocco, aye.
Josiah Birch, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye. Okay.
Let's get Orange Street enforcement order. Did you print those out? Yeah, I'm gonna hand out.
Okay, that's signatures, that's fine.
Everybody.
I'd like to get a motion to put the meetings at, minutes at the end.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I
Yeah.
was hoping to talk about the gift acceptance and the mail signatures, if I could.
Okay.
Last meeting, the board voted unanimously to accept the gift to transfer land for map 135, lot 2, which is the parcel part of the Douglas development. The problem was, when we signed the document again tonight, we signed the wrong signature page. So I provided a fresh signature page for you to sign.
What
I
is
was
this
hoping
for?
we could sign it now before the end of the
Orange
meeting.
Street.
Yeah, I think it's going around to be signed already, Matt.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic, thank you.
I was just passed a enforcement order.
Right, we're
That's
gonna
separate.
talk about that in a minute. I'm just getting it in everybody's hands, so
Okay, because there's no explanation or anything, yeah.
we're about to get to it.
Yes, it is. Okay, you all set on that, Matt? On the land transfer?
No, sir, just need the signatures from the members, that's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to the Orange Street enforcement order.
Right, so that's the paper that just got passed out. It's up for ratification and also signature. But I want to make sure that everybody has a copy of it so that you're comfortable with the wording. Okay? So under extent and type of activity, I have unauthorized alteration of an area subject to protection and buffer zone under MGL, Chapter 131, Section 40, 44 is wrong, this should be Section 40, and 310 CMR 10 by removing trees, laying down gravel, and expanding the entranceway to the lot. The definition of alter, according to 310 CMR 10.04, means to change the condition of an area subject to protection. Under the definition of alter, A and C, the changes the violator has made that are applicable to the situation include, but are not necessarily limited to, A, the changing of pre-existing drainage characteristics and the destruction of vegetation. Unauthorized work took place within the buffer zone of a wetland, which is believed to be a potential vernal pool. Any issues with that wording?
No?
Should it note the addition of or importing of fill?
It could.
Wasn't there gravel added to create the landing?
In my opinion, yes.
And I would definitely have that in.
Okay, so I can add that to it.
He actually said that too, right?
Yeah, you did, if I remember right.
Yeah.
So that can be added, all right, so you good with that language? Okay, so the next page, it reads that the activity is being conducted in an area subject to protection or the buffer zone without approval from the issuing authority. That is a valid order of conditions or negative determination. And then you go down to see what the order is. All three check boxes are checked off. The property owner, its agents, permittees, and all others shall immediately cease and desist from any activity affecting the buffer zone and/or resource areas, which they are adhering to. The second one is resource area alterations resulting from said activity shall be corrected and the resource areas returned to their original condition. Is that what you want?
Yes.
Okay. And then a restoration plan shall be filed with the issuing authority on or before, and I wrote April 22nd, and the reason why I put down today is because we just received the restoration plan from Goddard Consulting. So we have the restoration plan that can probably get discussed at the next meeting. Do you feel the need that for them to file file a notice of intent, or should they just be required to do the restoration under the enforcement order?
I think they should file.
Well, remember,
I think the enforcement order is sufficient.
Think so?
yeah, I
think we have
actually
more
think
power
that you
on
have more power.
Yeah.
Yes, you took the words out of my mouth. So you have more power because you can, you have the power to issue fines, and you can set timelines a lot more easily than if they have an order of conditions, because if an order of conditions, they have 3 years in which to do it.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're currently, per the last meeting, we're issuing fines of $200 a day. So Samantha here has been very busy writing up tickets and bringing them to Uxbridge District Court. And the question is do you want to, we have an amendment, but not an amendment, an attachment. Do we have that as well? Remember? We have the attachment?
It's not complete yet, but
Well, that's why I wanted to bring it up. So there's an attachment that goes along with it, kind of explains the findings of fact. And that reads, I'll just get to the summary. During the Conservation Commission meeting of April 1, 2024, the commission held a discussion. Let me make this bigger. regarding AP 266 APO Lot 13, subdivision Lot 12, also known as Parcel A, Orange Street complaint. The extent of the violation was unauthorized alteration of an area subject to protection and buffer zone under MGL, Chapter 131, Section, that should be 40. And 310 CMR 10. But basically, it's just a reiteration of what I just read to you. The entrance to the road is directly north of a potential vernal pool within the wetlands 100-foot buffer zone. The violator put down gravel, cleared trees, moved boulders, and expanded driveway without permission from the commission. The enforcement order was discussed and fines were issued for the violation during the April 1, 2024 meeting. And then I say who the voting members were. A motion was made to enforce fines at $200 a day beginning April 1st, 2024 until a restoration work was implemented. So that's that. And this last paragraph here talks about the ratification, which would be what you're going to do tonight is ratify that you're good with the wording of the enforcement order now. And that you're still satisfied with things like the date that the restoration plan has to come in, or are you still okay with fines? If you are okay with fines, how long should they go? Is it still till the restoration work is complete, or are you happy with the fact that they submitted a restoration plan? Things like that. So I just want to make sure that the wording is correct so we can send this out.
The one thing that I keep reading and don't know how it should be corrected or if it should be corrected is that the phrase "return to their original condition." Is that too vague? Should we base it on a time? Or?
Well, I imagine original condition could be interpreted as primordial forest, right?
I know, that's why I have a tough time with that.
Right,
phrase.
so I don't know, the pre, I guess the pre, I don't know when this all got done, pre-2024 condition before they did the expansion word. You can write that down and make that happen.
And then the second thing is that where on this enforcement order does it say how the person is to have it be accepted so that they're no longer having to pay fines?
Okay, so you want some performance standards on, what they have to do to have satisfied the commission?
Right.
Okay, so what are you looking for?
Well, I'm more interested in like notification, like when they feel like they're done, that they should notify the Conservation Commission agent, who will then schedule a review and take that to the Conservation Commission's next meeting, maybe something like that.
Okay, we can do that. Then what I would do is when you make the ratification vote tonight, then make those conditions of the ratification. What do you think? Okay.
So you need just a signature on this, right?
I would like you to vote to ratify the enforcement order with the fines, and when the fines go to, and what they have to do in order to get out of it. So what I heard was, the motion would go something like, a motion to ratify the enforcement order with $200 a day fines, retroactive to April 1st, until restoration work is complete. The owner must notify, what, the Conservation Commission for an inspection, and maybe say, once the agent is satisfied, it will be taken up at the next available meeting for whatever you want to say.
Correct.
Yep, okay.
So moved. Although, we should also, as corrected, right? Because you've got some corrections to make in this.
Yes, there you go.
We have a motion, we have a second.
I just had one quick question. So for the fines, so once they're done hypothetically with their restorations, is that when the fines stop that day and then once they come, or is it going to continue until it comes in front of us?
That's completely up to you.
That's why I wanted the schedule. It's when it comes to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So you want to make a correction on your motion? For the fine part of it?
I don't know if it's a correction or a,
It's the same.
it's clarification.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So we got a second?
I'll second that.
All right, so we have a motion, and a second, to ratify the enforcement order. Can I get a roll call vote?
Mark Mungem, aye.
Jim Foran, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Josiah Birch, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to get a motion to move on the minutes till the end of the meeting.
Excuse me,
Yes,
may I speak on the issue that was just presented? There was no
I'm sorry.
public comment available for that.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's not even necessary, but that's good.
Go ahead.
So Tom Schutz, Goddard Consulting here on behalf of the applicant. We submitted a restoration plan and we'd like to present it tonight for the commission to move on the restoration plan ASAP instead of waiting for the next hearing.
Oh, no, that's not how I heard it. Tom, you can get going on this. Well, first of all, I got to review this thing, and we can talk as early as tomorrow, but I don't think there's any issue moving forward really with the restoration plan. Maybe there's a tweak or two, but I think that the commission here, unless I heard wrong, wants you to move on at ASAP so we can, get this done and ultimately get the fines lifted.
So Brandon, you're saying that we can just move forward with the restoration plan that was submitted last week and get that going ASAP instead of having to present it in front of the commission? Like, we could start work tomorrow, you're saying?
I want you to review it.
Yeah, I have. It's satisfactory to me. Now, the only thing that I want to say.
Hold on. Yeah, Matt.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to point out that the enforcement order reads that the area is to be returned to its original condition. And this restoration plan shows a brand-new gravel driveway, which is the opposite of what the enforcement.
He's taking the words out of my mouth here.
Matt, may I share my screen to discuss this?
Hold on a sec. So, just like Matt was saying, the only thing that I have concern with is they show a 12-foot wide proposed gravel driveway. I don't know if that's the best way to, if it's going to be a proposed gravel driveway, that should probably be a notice of intent, because it's something new, and you shouldn't be approving new things through an enforcement order. But there was an existing forestry, forest harvesting path that went through there before. So, I mean, I would say that was a pre-existing condition.
All the gravel?
But not with the gravel, no. It was not there with the gravel.
I have pictures of the pre-existing conditions if we want to just take a look at that quick. I'll show you what I modeled my restoration plan off of. It was presented at the last hearing, but I just want to make sure that the commission remembers that correctly.
Do you want me to give him screen share?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, you should have it.
Okay, Okay, can everybody see my screen correctly, my mouse, and the photo that's currently in front of you?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this photo was taken during October of 2023. It was presented at the last hearing and is a street view of Orange Street looking into the site of Orange Street Lot 12. So this is what we modeled our restoration plan off of. It may not be gravel, but it's certainly a compacted existing fire road that leads into the center of the site. So we wanted to leave this in place. In our opinion, it measured around 12 feet wide. So we can remove the gravel reference in our restoration plan, which is denoted as this. We have, just to give you a little bit of information, the blue right here is the 100-foot buffer zone to the wetland down to the south here, and then across Orange Street to the west. This is the 12-foot wide driveway that we would restore the conditions of, whether it's gravel or not. That can be decided. Additionally, we have plantings, mostly wetland plants, facultative plants that are down here to the south of the gravel road, and then upland plants up here to the north to restore some of that forested buffer that we had previously to the gravel that was laid down. This entire area that's shown in the dotted white opaque section, that's the area that gravel will be removed and a upland seed mix or conservation wildlife seed mix will be laid down. If necessary, some supplemental soil will be put down just to ensure that the plantings and the soil take and bring it back to the conditions that were shown on the previous image. We're going to be doing 16 trees consisting of red maple and red oak, and 15 shrubs consisting of highbush blueberry, witch hazel, and sweet pepper bush. Additionally, with 2 pounds spread through the white area right here. So this is what we're proposing. If you have any comments on it, we'd like to hear it because we're looking to start work immediately to get this restoration underway.
Yeah, so it sounds good to me, Mr. Chairman. I just don't like the idea of calling it a proposed driveway. It's a proposed path. It's just the path that was already there for the forestry. So maybe we could tweak the wording on that.
Yes, we can call it a pre-existing fire road if you would like to consider it that.
That's fine.
Sure. There were boulders moved around, though. And I
There
didn't,
was boulders moved around. If you'd like to put them back in place, we certainly can. We just don't want to be creating any more disturbance to the buffer zone using heavy machinery if it's not necessary.
well, I think that we should put Humpty Dumpty back together as close as we can, which includes the boulders wherever they were before. I don't think, given this situation right now, that having some heavy machinery at the beginning is a big deal. It's after it gets restored that'll be the big deal. So I'm good with that.
That's understandable.
I'm good with the plan if you can agree to changing the wording on the drive, call it a pre-existing fire road, and also let the minutes reflect that the boulders will be moved back into the previous positions.
And that the gravel be removed, correct?
Yes, that is on the plan.
Correct, the gravel will be removed.
Yep, and it will be seeded and planted with trees and shrubs.
Yeah, but the gravel from the 12-foot section was not being planned to be removed. And
Oh, yeah, we got, yeah.
we want it removed.
Oh, they
from
want it
that
removed. Good
as
point.
well.
Yeah, that should go too, because if we're going to bring it back to what it was before, that needs to go as well.
Correct.
Well, I thought he just said he's taking that out of there and putting in a,
Yeah, the
Next.
edges he's taking out, but they were planning to leave that.
Oh, that wasn't clear to me. Oh,
I
yeah,
think we
that
should
that
all-
should come out as well.
Okay. Brandon, would you like another restoration plan saying that before we start work? Or is it okay if we just go ahead and start work with
If you want-
those in mind
Uh,
and
if the
bring back to you when we're completed?
If the commission's okay with it, I'm okay with letting them start the work, and they can just tweak that plan.
okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Chris Betancourt, I'm the owner. There was access in the past, as we just depicted. It was not grass. We are planning to utilize that entrance for fire roads. It's been discussed, it's been proposed, there's drawings coming for it, there's wetland crossings coming for it. Planting loam and seed on that area was not what it was, and I just don't want that to be misconstrued. that path, whatever you want to call it, has been there for 30-plus years that I know of, and it clearly shows that there was a path going into the back.
Okay. Yeah, we're not saying you're taking a path away, we're saying,
I just want to make sure that you don't want me to scrape all the gravel out. I don't know how deep it is. What's there is there, was there. All I was talking about earlier was during the slippery conditions, we put some gravel over the top of what was existing. We'll take that gravel off, the new gravel. What's underneath is already there. So I understand the plantings on the left and the right, and push a couple of boulders back in place, plant the trees and whatever else is on the order. But what's showing on that path that goes all the way into the woods, about 2 miles, is a gravelly material.
Yeah, I think
we're
we're
not
talking about.
we're not talking about going in 2 miles into the woods.
No, we're just talking about 100
Right.
feet from the wetlands right here.
Yeah.
So I think that the whole idea is to get the more recent stuff.
Yeah, okay, understood.
Yes.
Kristen and 19 Orange Street. I believe there was wood chips there before, but that's not what I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about, since this all happened, that vernal pool is now constantly a puddle into the street. It has leaked into the street. There's a constant puddle there. Even the highway department has not fixed that. So I'm nervous with them trying to fix this, that they're gonna make that part of it worse. Trying to restore it, because it's already flooding now. I don't know. I feel like if there can be some insight for them, because that company has already caused damage, maybe they're not that familiar with how to deal with the vernal pool, just to not make it worse, because the street now, that vernal pool is flooding into the street now. So I'm just nervous that that's gonna be even more, and it's leading now into ours with the wetland, where places that weren't wet before are now wet. So I'm just nervous that whole area is gonna end up being worse in the process of trying to restore it.
And you need,
Yeah, I don't think it's going to get worse in the process of restoring it. I think that perhaps the work that was done helped to exacerbate the flooding issue. I'm hoping that by removing the gravel and getting the grades back to where they were, that'll help alleviate that kind of flooding. And this was brought before me too, is the question of whether or not we could put a pipe underneath the road to help alleviate the water from the vernal pool, so it doesn't flood over the road. And I said that's not as easy as you think it is, because there was never a pipe there before, and if you drain a vernal pool intentionally, that's a big problem. The Department of Environmental Protection is probably likely to step in and the town get its hands slapped for even allowing that. So it's kind of a very sensitive issue. Like, I think that step one should be restoring this area back to what it was before, as close to that as possible, and then see how it goes. And if the vernal pool keeps on flooding over the road, then we need to take a second look at it. But I'm hoping that this restoration work will help to alleviate that for now. But to put a pipe into the road right now to help the water go from one side to the other is going to be very tough.
anybody else? Anybody on Zoom?
You have one over there.
Yes.
I'm not an expert on vernal pools, I understand what they are. The DPW did install 2 pipes crossing Orange Street about 2 months ago, further down, to alleviate flooding. I believe that when Orange Street was built, it inhibited the water flow from the high ground to the low ground, and it pulls up on the side of Orange Street because it can't flow anymore. I know Orange Street has been there for a long time, but if there was a pipe there, it would allow the water to go where it naturally went before Orange Street was there.
Yep, I tend to agree with Mr. Betancourt there. The difference between the other spot further down the road where the two pipes were put in is that there's already a little brook right there. And I think that the uphill side, when Orange Street was improved and the grades were brought up, it acts like a little dam. So the uphill side tends to back up and it creates a pool. So on that other one, there was already a pipe there that I'm guessing was not working like it was supposed to. And the water was pooling up on the uphill side. And what I heard during a complaint that we got is that the DPW drained a vernal pool. They very well might have, but the problem is that it should never have been a vernal pool to begin with, because they should have been well, I don't want to put blame on the highway department here, but because pipes have a way of, over time, not functioning the way they were originally designed, so they just did normal, upkeep, and now the water is flowing like it should have to begin with. In this situation, there was never a pipe to begin with. So yeah, Orange Street has probably backed it up and made a pool on the uphill side, but it's been like that for, I'm going to guess, decades. And there's no pipe, so that's a different kind of situation. We get more into, legal definitions than we do, timing and what was there, what's grandfathered, what's not. It's, the situation down the road, I think, is grandfathered because there's already a pipe there that needs to be maintained. This one has no pipe to begin with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just one further comment. If there is any flooding coming out of that vernal pool, I would believe that it's directly affected by the amount of rain that we've received lately. If that water cannot absorb into the ground, it's going to pool up. The more it rains, the more water there is, the more it's going to spill onto Orange Street, and I don't believe that that's something new.
Yeah, I mean, if you get more rain, you're going to get puddling. There's no doubt about it. Any other thoughts?
My thought is to fix the current situation and see how it functions. And then if it continues to be a problem, then we need to continue to think about it.
Anything?
I'm fine with what we've requested and putting the enforcement order into effect.
Jim?
I'm good with that.
Mike?
No problem.
I think, yeah.
No. Okay, so could you please sign the signature page on that?
Okay. Is there anything else before we, no?
Are there two of them?
Those two there?
There's two of them, yeah. One for the town, one for the Mr. Betancourt.
Okay. he's finishing up that, can we get a motion to move the minutes to the end?
Make a motion to move the minutes to the end of the,
To do what?
to move the minutes to the end of
End of the meeting.
night.
Second,
Roll call vote? You know what we're voting on? We're going to move the minutes to the end. Okay.
Mark Mungin, aye.
Jim Foran, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Josiah Birch, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just want to put it on the record for the minutes that Samantha here just handed Mr. Betancourt the tickets to date.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go to the next item. DEP number 143. This is number 3 in your book. 143, 1058, 38 Hemlock Street, James Sylvia. Yeah, come on up. Just state your name and stuff, just sort of.
Jim Silva, in regard to 38 Hemlock. So I'm just here requesting the commission that we're able to drill the well to determine the lots buildable before we install a driveway with a base coat.
Base coat for the
The base
drive.
coat for pavement.
Right.
I mean, just a little history, the brook or river is on the other side of Hemlock, so the 200 riverfront is in front of our property. When we first purchased the property back in 2005, we got an order of conditions. These were not in the original order, but we did not touch the lot for many years. The driveway going up, because we have the proposed house in back of the lot, is like 240 feet long, so it's a considerable driveway to put a base coat without even determining if you can build a house.
Can I get Sharon? I'll bring the plan up.
So we're also, we're looking to drill the well without disturbing the area within the 200 riverfront. So we're not going to be digging anything up. We just basically want the truck to get to the back to drill the well.
So does this look like the right plan for you? It's up there?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so this is a,
Right, so.
you got an
so-
order of conditions for.
Right. Right, it is in the order conditions, and that's why I'm here to see if we can get some relief on that.
So this is file 143-1058. It was issued on September 12, 2022,
Yep,
which means that it's valid through September 12th of 2025,
correct,
and this is the plan that goes along.
correct.
Okay, and you want to,
Right, so, Hemlock is at the top is the street,
right,
and you can see the 200-foot
right here.
riverfront?
Yep,
Okay, so the well would be behind the proposed house. The well is
this is
like,
way back here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's way
like
at the top of the driveway.
a little over 170 feet
Okay,
from,
so the way I see it is that the well here,
yes,
that was approved in the order of conditions along with the site plan in 2022, which gives you the permission to go out and do your well test.
okay, I thought the order of condition,
Order of condition in number 5, what I'm looking at, says the driveway base coat must be installed prior to the start of construction of the house, septic, well, along with any site grading associated with the house, septic, and well.
Oh, but you can't get your building permit until you get your well passed.
Right.
correct.
So that's a little bit of a conundrum. Okay, yeah.
So we're asking some relief. It kind of, to install a driveway, and then if we have an issue, we have a driveway to nowhere.
Yep.
have you talked to a well driller, and can they get the well rig back there without?
We think we can. We have not talked to someone because unless we get some help. It's, you know, I mean, I feel we can. Potentially, we may even be able to, from a neighbor, get there without even going within the 200. So I don't know if it even becomes an issue, but we're just trying to make sure everything is the way it should be. You know, and to be honest, I mean, that was back in '22. They were kind of like added last minute. One of the members wanted to put that condition in, and everyone voted. And I don't think we really thought of the consequences at the time either.
Yeah, I understand where you come from.
I'm fine with, personally, I'm fine with them being able to determine, you know, get a truck in there and dig a well and make sure that they have water before they do a lot of construction work.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, I mean, we wouldn't disturb anything in doing it.
There's no vote really necessary for this.
No.
Yeah. If everyone's in agreement, then,
Okay, I just
Go do
want
it.
to, you know, I don't want to do something unless everybody's, you know.
well, if we get a phone call complaint, we'll know what it's about, and we'll know that you came before the commission to ask.
Okay,
Yep.
very good. I appreciate the time. I know you guys are really busy.
Thanks for doing it the right way.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Okay. Let me see if I can see that. Okay, next is 131 Main Street, Adult Social Center, discussion.
Main Street. Yeah, do you? Where'd that
Yeah,
come?
Main Street. Yeah, come on up. Yeah, state, excuse me?
Yeah, join you.
Yes. Just state your name.
I am Dick Skinner, 174 South Street, and I am here on behalf of the Sunshine Club and the Adult Social Center.
Okay.
If I can give you a quick summary of why we're where we are. Each year, AARP offers grants to towns, to groups, in their Community Challenge Program. This year, we chose to go for a grant to get a pavilion, which is approximately 20 feet by 40 feet. For that, we need a concrete pad to mount it. I believe you had distributed to you an outline of am I correct or incorrect?
Yep. Yep, we have it.
The first one shows 4 possible locations. I picked 5, and this shows 4. And I have arbitrarily numbered them 1 through 4 in no particular order. Each has its own set of problems. For instance, 1 is behind the Chinese restaurant, would require them to donate the land of the town. Problem. Number 2 is the end of the fenced area in the parking lot of the Adult Social Center, and it is close to wetlands. How close, I don't know, because it's kind of vague at that point.
Is it in the parking lot?
It would not be in the parking lot, it would be off the parking lot, where
A
the
little bit
fence
into
is
the
right
woods?
now.
So a little bit into the forest?
No, there's no forest there. There may be a tree or two, but I'm from the country, not a forest.
All right, go ahead.
All right, number 3 is in the land area that is currently owned by the town and is at the the end of the grammar school, the old grammar school area. And the 4th one is across Gleason Court. And the area sometimes gets wet, but the trees tell me that it's not wetlands. Any questions on those 4?
Who's telling you it doesn't get wet? Who's telling you it's not wetlands?
I personally don't believe it's wetlands.
Oh, okay.
Others may say it's wetlands. I know that the runoff from number 2 goes over to number 4. There's a culvert under Gleason Court. So So I know
Okay.
water goes there, but the trees, I think they're primarily maple, aren't dead. And if it was wetlands, they would be dead, in my humble opinion. Number 5 is the first choice of the Adult Social Center Director and myself, and it's in this parking lot right here. Not in the parking lot, but by the basketball court. And the yeah, it should be right there.
Yeah, I have it up on the
Oh,
screen.
okay.
So, based on this photograph, it looks like it would be, what, somewhere around here? You can see that?
Yes, I can.
Here's the basketball
No,
court.
it would be further towards the lower end of the picture.
Further down here?
Yes.
That's an open grass area right now.
Right, so would it stay in the open grass area?
Yes.
Okay. That's actually my first preference as well, among all the different spots. Yeah, if it stays in the open grass area, I don't think there's an issue at all.
Just the dumpster, which we have to move.
It may be within riverfront.
That's a perennial stream?
It's a perennial stream down the hill from there.
Okay.
I mean, it's probably in the outer 100, but
Yeah, but if you're making the
That dark
pads-
area?
The pad's not small, it's
It's
20 by 40.
That's the dimension of the pavilion. The pad itself would be about 21 by 41.
Yeah, it's concrete slab, 21 by 41, which is not small. And then a 20 by 40, 12-foot tall pavilion. So, yeah, that would be in the riverfront area. That would require an application. Yeah. Thing is, on the other side, like the one behind the restaurant, it's probably the only one that looks like it's completely safe, but you don't own that land.
We do not own it. It's not likely they would give it to us.
Right, so that's problematic. And then the other ones, where am I? Yeah, here I am. So the one behind the restaurant would be what, somewhere right in here? Going to the map.
If I can find where you are.
Here's the,
It's the grassed-in,
so here's
Yeah.
Gleason Court right here.
yes,
Okay, so you're talking about this grassed area right here?
the grassed area, correct.
But it's on somebody else's land.
That's correct.
Right, and there's a little brook right here,
correct.
right? So it looks like you're probably more than 100 feet on that one. But then if you come over here, the second one, number two would be over in here in the woods, going to the
Yes,
map
off-
I have.
Off the paved area.
Off the paved area would be right next to the brook. I don't see that one happening. And then we got number 3, which would be,
Same exact issue.
yeah, right over here. That's also next to
On
the
the,
brook.
on that side of the right-of-way.
Right, so it'd be over here, which is also very close to the brook. This one might have a little bit better chance because there's already a little gravel road and some open area.
Yes.
But you'd
Right.
still have to get a permit. And then over here, we have wetlands. In fact, the town map has this W, which means water. So that one's problematic as well. So,
But right there on the line, it's not, right where the trucks are parked, it's not bad there. See the postal trucks? There's a line of
Right
them.
in the corner.
right,
Yeah, so right off the end of the pavement in that area there is not, it's
right.
not.
But where are the trucks going to go?
Well, I haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah.
There is church property there if you continue behind the,
That's church property?
United Methodist.
Yeah, that's the land I was thinking you were talking about.
Yeah, Mr. Benoit
Was the
has
church
his hand
property.
up.
Yeah. Let's,
Go ahead, Matt.
Chairman?
Ken, yes.
Just wanted to add, so the Buildings, Facilities, and Construction Committee has recommended the selectmen for the possible sale of the town of Douglasville Grammar School property. Should go to the school committee to try to obtain a little extra land. So I wouldn't consider that one as an option for additional build-out. I don't think that makes sense at the time. And the property to the north that is highlighted currently is absolutely a wet area, and you can see when you pull up the data layer. on the GIS. My recommendation would be at the Depot Street Town Hall. That would make more sense.
I tend to agree.
But is there any kind of master plan or plan for that area for other uses? I mean, that's such right now, it's partially recreation in that area. Any thoughts of expanding that area as recreational area? Pickleball's pretty popular.
Right. I mean, there's a dumpster pad on that now. I'd like to know where that's to be relocated. It seems to be an easy access point for trash trucks to pick up the trash and remove it. I think a little bit more thought needs to go into this, that's all.
Yeah.
Right, so this spot right here on the south side of the basketball court, I think that's a good location for it, given that it's already cleared, but it will be within 200 feet of a perennial river, which means that an application is going to have to be made. Every single one of these spots, with the exception of perhaps the one behind the restaurant, which you don't own, is going to require an application to the Conservation Commission.
Right. So if anything, I'd recommend this site, the 29 Depot Street site. That makes the most sense. Plus, you have all the traffic queuing on Gleason Street, the Gleason Court for the schools already. That's been problematic and ongoing. So you're adding a citizen pavilion crossing Gleason Court going on, so that option 3, I don't think that works.
Okay.
All right, so what I need to do is make an application to the Conservation Commission, is that correct?
Yep.
Yep. And you can consult with me after the meeting, as to what exactly that would involve.
Thank you.
Need any assistance on putting it together, something you don't understand, let me know.
Why don't we start at ground zero?
That's fine. That's where we usually start.
We all set?
What is the use of the pavilion? What's the proposed use of the pavilion?
To put picnic benches in there and have seniors sit there and talk and have picnics and keep the sun off them in the summertime. In the wintertime, we would be parking the adult social center van in that area.
So is it your preference to be away from the seniors, almost called it the senior center, the adult community center?
No,
You would rather be near the adult
that's why I
community
picked 4 around there, but I recognize that each of them has a problem. We all set?
All set? Anything? Anybody have any questions? Anybody on Zoom? Yeah, we're all set.
Thank you.
Okay, next is a notice of intent for 34 Hemlock Street. That's item 5.
So what this is the intent to sell for a property from 34 Hemlock Street, but the town has the opportunity to exercise its first right of refusal. So the select board has a new policy now where they're asking all the boards and commissions for their opinion on whether or not they think the board should exercise its first right of refusal on property that's in chapter.
Bring it up on this one. So I'll bring it up on the map. Okay, it's up on the board. Come out a little bit. Where is it?
So that's Lot A, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that's 52.256 acres.
Right. If anyone were to develop this, they would need to file a definitive subdivision plan because I don't think there's enough frontage on the street. They'd have to build a roadway and put in housing or whatever they're proposing. Not sure. But the intent is, as it stands right now, that the person purchasing the land intends to keep it in chapter, but that could change.
Yeah.
Obviously. So this is the town's opportunity to make a recommendation to purchase the land, I guess, for preservation or if the for conservation purposes. That's what this board would be acting on.
Mr. Chair, I have a request for clarification.
Okay.
Yes?
Yes.
Lisa Melzinski, 60 Oak Street. I'm also on the Open Space Committee. I'd like to ask Matt Benoit for clarification on whether this is a bona fide offer or if this is just a notice that this could happen, because this was also, this also came up a year ago. And regarding our policy, there needs to be an actual purchase and sales attached to the request. Otherwise, this is just a wishful thinking exercise. So if you could give us clarity, Matt, that would be appreciated.
Sure. Yes, we did receive a letter from Attorney Law to Keith K. Fuller, hereby notified under Section 14, Chapter 244, Section 17B, intent of a company on or after July 24th at 1 p.m. to foreclose by sale under power of sale for breach of condition the mortgage held by its property situated at 34 Hemlock.
So again, there's no price. There's no purchase and sale. This isn't a legal offer. And I believe when it was circulated, it was said that this is just a notice of intent. It is not a legal offer.
What this is intent to, I believe, power of sale of breach of condition of the mortgage to be taken by the lender.
I believe it was also circulated to the town's council, and did they have an opinion on that? Because policy requests that it be determined to be a valid request before the boards move ahead with it. I just believe this is premature.
Well, they sent us the formal notice of intent, and the town's clock officially started according to the assessor's office. We have 90 days to make a determination on that.
I'm sorry, it's not the assessor's office to make that determination. You need to get a determination from legal counsel, please, before any action's taken.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, yeah, I agree with Elise Mazinski. We need to have a number, how much it's going to cost, so I don't think we'll go any further. No.
Copy of the notice of sale, the mortgagee's real estate is closed in for our reference. Notice of mortgagee sale of real estate is attached in part of your packet.
So basically, the mortgage company wants to take it back so they can turn around and sell it, since
It's going through.
right?
They're going to foreclose.
It's
Foreclosure.
a foreclosure.
Yeah, it's a foreclosure.
Oh,
So it's a foreclosure, so which means the bank will take it back, and then,
not necessarily. I mean, somebody else could buy
Well, it's going to go to bid, because
yeah,
in
it'll go
there
to
it
bid,
says
the bank takes
you
it
have to have a
back, and then
$15,000
they'll
bill.
start bidding it out.
Somebody could actually outbid the bank, and then that would...
Right, so what happens is when it goes into foreclosure, and it gets bid out, and whatever's left over, the proceeds goes to the original owner. The bank doesn't get to keep the profit.
Right, right.
They just get what they recoup back, and then it goes to the owner.
Right.
So even if it gets outbid, it doesn't matter.
Foreclosures, there's no real price, you know.
I know, but the bank's going to sell it because they want to make their money back, because
Right.
right now, they're not making any money.
So how's the town going to...
Yeah, the town's not going to get into a bidding process, I wouldn't think.
Yeah.
So,
the-
So
Yeah.
isn't the inherent price of a residual on the mortgage that they're foreclosing for?
Can we just have you state your name, that's all?
Sorry, Stephen Kroll, 78 Torrey Road, in Sutton.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Usually when these come before the commission is because it was in chapter land, 61 and it's now being requested to take it out, and therefore the town has first right of refusal. That's when it usually comes before the Conservation Commission to see whether or not you want to make a recommendation to purchase the land. But this seems to be a little bit different. So I don't
Yeah.
understand
We
what...
don't know what the number is.
Yeah, so I tend to agree with that.
Yeah.
Like, what is exactly is it that is being requested the Conservation Commission to put a bid on it? I mean, I don't know.
I
Who's going
think they're
to the
asking
auction?
for our recommendation whether the town should look into purchasing the property.
Right. We're looking for a recommendation to support further research or not, and that's really it.
Okay.
Oh, I had no problem with that.
Yeah,
The
that,
commission's interested in the preservation of this land, that's all we're looking for. It's just a letter of interest.
that's your call.
Yes,
No, I'd just like to recommend, that's not the policy that the Board of Selectmen recently adopted, and I'd like to recommend that the commission take this up again at their next meeting after they get more information.
And there's enough time for that?
That's fine, there's still time.
All right.
How much time do we have left?
I said July, right? That's when the auction is, July something?
Okay, so there's still time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sounds
on or
good.
after July 24th.
Yeah, we'll get a little bit more information, a little more clarity, and bring it up at the next meeting.
Okay, anything else on that? Anybody on Zoom have a question? Okay. What's that?
I said, thank you, Lisa.
Next is the stormwater bylaw. Is this to a recommendation to adopt it by the board? Okay. That's item 6.
Matt, you have anything on it you'd like?
Sure, so the commission has had this bylaw in their possession for quite some time now. I will say that the finance committee voted unanimously to oppose the adoption of this bylaw, and the planning board also voted the same. They also cited that they did not have enough time to review it. The planning board cited that they all talked about how this could affect people who are cutting trees down on their property in excess of an acre, and then they would have to file. This affects the everyday person. And the intent of this bylaw is to protect stormwater throughout the town. And I understand the concerns, and I truly do, but we're an MS4 community, and we have to consider the adoption of these regulations at some point.
At some point, because ultimately they could end up being fines from the EPA. Not that I want to hold that over anybody's head, but it is a possibility. My understanding is that the EPA has been tough but fair with this kind of thing. When you're a MS4 community, you do have to adopt the stormwater bylaw at some point, but they will ultimately force you into it. So there's other reasons to adopt the stormwater bylaw. This is no longer, in my opinion, a rural town. This is more of a suburban town, and what one person does on their land affects the person right next door more often than it ever did. It protects water quality, protects water from affecting other people. What one person does with their land gets reviewed so that it doesn't impact a person on another piece of land, whether you're in a wetland or not. And the thresholds are here, 1 acre. So you have to disturb 1 acre of soil. It's not just cutting down a tree. Say you wanted to clear cut the forest. You wouldn't fall under this bylaw, but if you decided to stump that land and bulldoze it, yes, you would, okay?
Well, I'm looking, not to cut you off, but I'm looking at section 6. In the first line, it says including clearing. So that would be if you cut more than an acre.
I thought it included grading and excavation. I thought that had to be part of it as well. I guess it depends on how you read it.
Well, the way I'm
Well,
reading,
I would say that clearing does impact, because it impacts the runoff coefficient of that land, so therefore affects stormwater.
Okay. It also exempts agriculture as it's understood under the Wetlands Protection Act. So if you're a farm and you're for-profit, you have for-profit commodities, then you are exempt. But if you're say, a gentleman farmer, so to speak, and you're just raising, commodities for yourself or your friends, then that doesn't, the giveaway, that doesn't count.
So it would have to disturb 1
acre.
At least 1 acre?
At least 1 acre,
So
right.
if somebody did half of an acre, there's no enforcement?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and what's been conveyed to me is that it's not so much the big pieces of property, it's actually some of the smaller parcels of property in the more densely populated parts of town that are more problematic than the larger ones, because everybody's so close together that what one person does on a small lot affects the folks next door or even the street. But
Right.
those are not even included.
Right.
The Board of Selectmen did, tell me if I'm wrong, Matt, but I remember them supporting it.
The Board of Selectmen voted to put it on the warrant. I don't think they've actually formally taken a vote of support. I think they'll do that before town meeting.
The Conservation Commission would be the board in charge of this bylaw.
And I support having a stormwater management bylaw. I'm just concerned about the Conservation Commission being the one to oversee it on top of the other chores that we have. I mean, our meetings right now are going long, it may be just a phase, but to add stormwater management to what we're overseeing is a lot. So
It is-
that concerns me some.
The thing about stormwater is that a lot of it has, most of it's engineering. So I got a feeling that most of this is going to go out to peer review anyway. So, I mean, how much involvement you'd have, I'm sure there'd be discussion, but I think a lot of it would be engineers talking about whether or not, the project meets the stormwater standards and the provisions of the bylaw. And you'd probably more likely than not be relying on the advice of your experts.
Will the planning board still do their stormwater review of subdivisions? Or will
Yes,
they
they-
pass that off to us?
They would. They still have authority under the Subdivision Control Act and all that. Yeah, that's stormwater's part of that.
So there'd be instances where we're both doing stormwater review.
Yes, and as you are now with wetlands, sometimes you have wetlands jurisdiction and you have stormwater part of that as well.
Sure.
If you read right in the authority section, nothing in this bylaw or the regulations adopted hereunder is intended to replace or be in derogation to the requirements of the Town of Douglas zoning bylaw, Douglas Wetlands Protection Bylaw, or the Douglas Subdivision Control Rules and Regulations.
Do we need to have public hearings on this bylaw before it could be adopted?
So if this bylaw gets adopted, the commission would then adopt a draft policy, which we've prepared and we provided to you in advance, but it's going to be provided at your May meeting once, presuming we get a positive vote at town meeting. If we don't, you won't see it.
so it's going to go to town meeting, be adopted.
Right. And this allows for the commission to adopt a policy that would govern the public hearing process, the applications, and all that.
There's no public hearings of this bylaw obviously before the town meeting. It's coming right up.
This is it.
This is it.
Correct.
So there's no opportunity for anybody or even for us to adjust or make changes to this. They would have to happen on the floor at the town meeting.
Right. Correct.
I'm still supportive of it.
Any other discussion? Anybody from the floor? Anybody on Zoom? Okay. Entertain a vote on it? Motion?
Probably a motion to accept it.
I'll make a motion to...
To support.
To support,
Yeah.
there you go.
Right. I'm going to make a motion that we support the stormwater management bylaw as presented.
You have a second?
I'll second.
As is or as adopted? As is
As
or
is.
as adopted?
As presented, right? So this paper here.
Okay.
Roll call
Aye.
vote. We have a motion on the floor and seconded. Can we get a roll call vote?
Mark Mongem,
Jim Foran, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Josiah Birch, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye. Okay. There's no new business. We're going to go into old business. We have to close the meeting or anything, Brandon?
Yeah, we're into old business. 75 Old Farm Road, I believe. Continue.
Yeah. Okay. So next is old business.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
on 75 Old Farm, did anybody go take a look down there?
No, they requested to continue. I don't think it's been,
I know
it's been staked yet.
I know the applicant did, but did any of you guys go down and take a look at the land
No,
itself?
because the engineer was going to notify us when it was staked out.
When it was, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I went
I haven't received it.
down and took a look at it. And,
So that's why it's not ready yet, evidently.
it's kind of tough.
Okay, we can't
That's all,
really, we can't really discuss it.
okay.
Okay, so notice of intent for Paul Mitchell.
Point of order, we just need a motion to accept the continuous request for the next meeting.
All right, can we get a motion to accept the continuation?
I move that we continue or accept the continuation of the public hearing for Paul Macharia, 75 Old Farm Road, map 237, lot 25, to our next meeting on May 13th.
Second.
We have a motion second to continue the public hearing on 75 Old Farm Road. Roll call vote.
Mark Mongem,
Jim Foran, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Josiah Birch, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye. All right, next is ANRAD, DEP number 143-1090, public hearing, continuance, abbreviated notice of resource delineation, Otwell Investment Group LLC, 3338 Caswell Court, map 137, lots 6 and 8.
Good evening to the commission members. My name is Michael Dryden, a senior project manager with Allen Engineering. And this was briefly discussed a little bit earlier on the agenda, but just to recap quickly, the resource area plans were submitted in October. It took some time, of course, for that peer review to play out for obvious reasons. But we did receive on March 29th some marked up plans from Ecosystems Solutions from Samantha. Is that you, Samantha? We didn't receive any formal correspondence, but we did get marked up plans, so we did make the changes that were suggested. We sent survey out there to reestablish some flags, move flags, renumber flags. There are probably 6 or 7 different items that needed to be addressed over the 82-acre site, but again, they've been made. The revised plans are dated April 15th. You should have a copy of those in your packet. Happy to answer any questions. I believe it's that simple at this point.
Brandon, you got anything?
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, so Samantha sent the email, but it was all done under my supervision, so she's just the person who hit send. I just want to make that clear. But the applicant has made the changes as requested, so basically they've done everything that I've asked for as far as making adjustments to the wetland resource area boundaries. I see no further work that needs to be done, and recommend approval of the NRAD and issuance of an order of resource area delineation.
Anything from the board here?
What are the hatched areas?
On the west side of the site? Is that
Yes,
what you're referring to? That's the flood, that's the Zone A.
that's Zone A. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, the north side of the site.
It looks like west on the page.
It's west page, but it's north in the world.
I have nothing to do with this has nothing to do with the RDA, not the RDA, the determination. Or is it the RDA? Whatever. But the town of Douglas now owns a piece of land on the northern side of this site that we don't have access to, and if the developer and their plans for this property could keep that in mind and try to provide an access to the Castle Caves property, public access,
Oh, that'd be excellent.
that would be great.
Yeah.
I will certainly relay that when we get into future design plans.
I think it's all wetlands in between, but still, point of access.
There's an historic crossing, so you can physically get there. But certainly, I don't want to speak to whether or not that's a possibility. But
Understood.
As I said, I'll relay that to my client.
Thank you.
And we can go from there.
Yep.
So would you be creating some sort of an easement or something like that, or?
For access?
Yeah.
Again, I don't.
They're going to
think
look
it's
into
appropriate to
they're going to look
talk
into the
about that now.
possibility. They don't know if it's going to happen. He's going to bring it up to him.
Okay, all right.
You have anything, Brandon?
No, I recommend issuing order of resource area condition as the plan is accurate.
Anything from the board? Anything from the floor? Anyone from Zoom? Okay. Entertain a motion?
Make a motion, we close the public hearing for Otwood Investment Group, 33 and 38 Caswell Court, map 137, lots 6 and 8.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion second to close the public hearing for Hotwell Investment Group, lots 33 and 38 Caswell Court. Can I get a roll call vote?
Mark Monjamai.
Jim Foran, aye.
Mike Rocco, aye.
Josiah Birch, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye. Get a motion to vote on it?
Sure. I make the motion that we approve the resource area plans for the abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for Otwood Investment Group LLC, 33 and 38 Caswell Court, map 137, lots 6 and 8, as presented.
Second that.
We have a motion and second to approve the notice of resource delineation for Aswell Court Group LLC, 3338 Caswell Court, map 137, lots 6 and 8. Get a roll call vote?
Mark Mungem, aye.
Jim Foran, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Josiah Birch, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye. Okay, all set.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Next is public hearing continuation of notice intent for John Mushin,
Mishuzian?
45 Martin Road, Lot 1, single-family home, map 169, Lot 23, 45 Martin Road, Lot 1. Okay. Is someone here going to present anything?
Good evening. Can you hear me? This is Nicole Hayes, the Carter Consultant.
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay.
If I can share my screen, I'll bring up the updated plan. Is that okay?
Can we give us sharing, please?
All set.
You're all set, Nicole.
Yeah. You see? Ellen?
Not yet.
Oops. It reads that you've started screen sharing, but we can't see anything.
Try it again.
Yeah, try it again, don't worry about it. I have it as well if you're having trouble, Nicole.
If you stop sharing and then try to share again, it may reset it.
Yeah, share it.
How about I try it, Nicole?
Okay, go ahead.
So this is the one that's revised 4.9.
All right, if you can just look at that.
Oh, zoom in a little bit here.
Oh.
And like
The
that.
commission asked us, yep, that's good, right there.
Okay. Oops.
At the last hearing, the commission asked that a split rail fence be put on the plan, the limit of work, and that was done. Also, there was a request for some more space to allow the erosion controls to be installed along the 100-foot riverfront area line, which that was also done. Those were, the only two plan requests that were needed to finish off this, this notice of intent. And so those additions were done and the plans were submitted. So if there isn't any other questions or concerns, we respectfully request an order of conditions for the project.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I think they've done everything on the plan that they were asked to do. The only other part of the equation here was that, there's a riverfront area, and there's so many square feet of riverfront area.
The other one.
As far as the percentage goes, that you're allowed to disturb, and Lot 2 was approved at the last meeting. And in the order of conditions, there was a motion to require a deed restriction, and that outlined how many square feet of riverfront area were present on site, how much was 10%, because that's how much they're allotted, and how much has already been used. So therefore, there's a paper trail as to how much has been used and how much can be used again in the future. And by putting it on the deed, it's more likely to be seen as opposed to an order of conditions that expires and gets forgotten about over, a number of years. So I think that if you're going to be consistent with this one, you should probably, consistent with Lot 2, you should require the deed restriction with the same wording as well. And the other thing that was done with Lot 2 is that, and let me get the wording again from Lot 2, is that
It's already printed.
one of the conditions is in cooperation with the building department, occupancy shall not be granted until the recorded deed restriction is presented to the Conservation Commission. So no occupancy permit until the deed restriction is made available to the Conservation Commission. So those two things.
Anybody on the
That's fine with us.
Anybody on the board have anything else?
No, I'm good.
Mark, you good? Mike? No? No? Anybody from the floor have any questions or comments? Does anybody from Zoom have any questions or comments? Okay. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
We have a motion and seconded to close the public hearing for 45 Martin Road, Lot 1, map 169, Lot 23. Roll call vote.
Mark Bonjamai.
Jim Farr, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Josiah Birch, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye. Entertain a motion for...
Okay. Great, thank you very much.
We're
That was just closing the
We're just
public
closing the
hearing.
public hearing, that's
Oh,
it.
okay. Jumping the gun, I am.
Get a motion to approve notice of intent.
We closed it, but we didn't. We didn't.
I'll make a motion that we approve the notice of intent for John Mashushian, 45 Martin Road, Lot 1, map 169, Lot 23, with the condition that they add the deed restriction noting, or add a deed restriction noting how much riverfront buffer area was used for this lot and for previously permitted lots, and that the deed restriction be put in place prior to sale.
Occupancy permit.
Occupancy, prior to an occupancy permit being granted.
Second.
Okay, we get a motion and second to approve the notice of intent for 45 Martin Road, Lot 1, map 169, Lot 23, with the noted additional items.
Mark Bonjamai.
Jim Farr, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Josiah Birch, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye. You're all set.
Hey, come on.
You're welcome. Okay, this is 140.
I'm recusing myself from this one, but it looks like it's going to get continued.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a request to be continued. Get a motion to continue.
I'll make a motion for 140 Davis Street to be continued. DEP 143, which they don't have yet, map 192, lot 1, till May 13th.
Second?
Got a motion
Mr.
second.
Chairman, just for discussion,
Yes.
I just wanted to say I'm trying to send this out for peer review. I got rejected by both Ecotech and Comprehensive Environmental. as their lead times are a little too far out. So I'm still trying to find a peer review consultant for this item.
All right, thank you.
Let the commission know.
Thank you. We have a motion and seconded to continue to May 13th, provided we get a peer review.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Mark Mongemai?
Jim Farnine.
Mike Greco, aye.
Josiah Birch, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye. Okay, we're going to go into the updates now. CRG, 105 and 123 Gilboa Street. Gentlemen, because it's getting, these meetings go really long, if you can just keep it to any new items so we can move it along a little quicker. I don't mind hanging out with you guys, but 1 o'clock in the morning, people are starting to talk. So.
Suppose I'm just here to give an update on where we're at right now.
Huh?
Currently, we have regraded the site. As of today, it's about 90%.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, just have him introduce himself for the record.
Oh, yeah.
Mitchell Roush with Clayco.
Thank you.
Sorry. About 90% hydroseeded at this point in time. They just started with stabilization in the basin. At that point, they'll be able to go in and start figuring out what the issue is to address it. As Brandon had asked before, we've staked out the town lines down in the area of concern where the washout occurred, so that's been staked out, and then for all the catch basins, we've added all the silt sacks as requested. There is going to be some additional seed blanket applied, but we're going to apply a second layer of seed on a couple of the main slopes, so that's why you're not seeing that at this time. We've swept the entire site. It needs to be done again. We have a Bobcat sweeper on site, but we're going to bring in a street sweeper again to hit it again when they're done with spreading some additional loam in areas.
Okay. Yes.
I'm showing pictures as we talk.
Okay. Can you go back to the last one? That's been hydroseeded?
That has not been. They have to dress that up a little bit, and then they'll hydroseed that.
Okay.
One thing I noticed in this area on the south side of the building, Mitch, is that there's a catch basin right here. There's a lot of water flowing in it. Have you noticed this?
Yes.
Can you tell me what that's about?
The influx of water to that particular basin?
Yeah.
Just because of the slope. It's just running off that slope down there.
Well, I didn't see any surface water. Are you saying it's just brown water?
It's, well, from the storms. So there was a report by SWCA that came out about a week or so ago that showed a large puddle around that catch basin. The silt sack was slowing the water going down, and a couple days later they reissued a report that showed that it had gone down. So you're seeing some dirt around that area from where we had a pile of dirt where they were spreading new loam. So that's another area where we have to dress up, and I should probably have that silt sack replaced with what it caught.
Yeah, I looked down into it. It seemed like it had a lot of material in it.
There's some stick and stuff like that in there, so yes.
Fair enough. Okay, moving on. They are actively hydroseeding on the west side. West side by the solar farm. North side, Gilboa Pond's down here. And down at Gilboa Pond. So the silt sacks are in. And here's the infiltration pond. So it still has water, but they did track most of the sides at this point. It just hasn't been hydroseeded yet.
I should also say they've upsized the pump for pumping out the basin to a 4-inch. They've upsized the generator, and they've doubled up the weir tank and filters to make sure that water stays clean going down into the detention basins, our underground storage.
Yeah.
If it gets dry, can you pump any of that water up onto the slopes to get germination, get the grass growing?
I'm going to say I wouldn't pump that water up there now without it being filtered.
There is no irrigation on the site, though, correct?
There is not.
So one thing I'll say about this picture is that, we got loom on asphalt, and there's a ring of straw wattle, which is about as useless as a lifeguard at the Olympics. When you have dirt on asphalt, I recommend you get the weighted barrier. They're usually in some kind of a plastic coating, and it's like full of some kind of weighted material, whether it's sand or something, and that helps to keep it in place. Because if you get a big storm, it's just going to flow right underneath these because they have no weight.
Fair enough, I can do that, but also the plastic in the background, they cover it at the end of the day.
That's makes me feel better.
This area here, they've got some growth stabilization. They've also got the erosion blanket down. I've asked them to go down there and respray that area just to make sure that it does germinate better and have better growth.
Just the blanketed area or the grass that you're
They're
seeing
going to have to
above
pull up
that?
the blanket in order to get it to the soil, and I'm going to do it. It's what I need to do to make sure that things get taken care of properly.
Mitch, have you figured out what's up with this pipe, this tube?
I have not, and I saw it again today being out there, and I'm actually going to go pick it up and throw it away because I obviously can't get anybody from my staff to do it.
And looking back up road, and then underneath, and that's the end of it. And what I'll do is I'll go right back to the very beginning here real quick, because I did like 4 or 5 before everybody noticed. Oop. So this is McIntyre loam. There's a little berm that's been put up to prevent the mud from going downhill. See that? You see that, Mark?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And, still working on those slopes. And then we're back where we started.
Okay, you kept Uxbridge Conservation up to,
I was at their meeting last week. I at least update Emily via email once a week of where we're at so she knows.
Okay.
They have the NOI in their possession, and on May 6th, they'll be, I guess, deciding whether or not they're going to accept the NOI or ask for revisions.
That's on May 6th, right?
Yes.
Talked about this. May 6th is town meeting, right? So I was going to be at the Uxbridge Concom meeting to represent town of Douglas's interests. But I've been asked to go to town meeting to at least help support the stormwater bylaw and give testimony and all that if need be. And what I've asked is if my very my wetland scientist here, Samantha, can attend the Uxbridge meeting to do the same. You're comfortable with that? All right. Okay.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, thank you.
okay. Anything else, guys?
Yeah, Mitchell, on the slopes that you're seeding and you're mulching, you showed a picture of, you have the like the matting on the lower level part of the slope.
Right.
The upper part looks like it had been seeded last fall, but there's a lot of, it doesn't look like it's very full yet with vegetation. Are you reseeding that, or are you just leaving that?
Depending on where the area you're talking now. If we're talking the south slope, they're coming back in on Saturday. They're going to spray another level of seed on there. If you're talking down by the bridge area, that area grew up very green last year.
It did. I saw that.
If it comes back, then it comes back. If not, I will end up having to apply some additional seed to that area.
I was more talking about the eastern side, where on the other side of the road from the basin. So basin 1, the main basin that's giving us issues on the, across the driveway and up on that slope.
Where,
Where McIntyre is?
yeah, that's the only area I can think of.
I don't know where McIntyre is, so I don't
He's
know.
on, that access road way up the other end.
Isn't he
towards
on Hartford Ave?
He comes in off Hartford Ave, but that's, is that
He
the
has
side you're
access to
talking?
the storage area through the site.
So the slope up from the driveway, the driveway that has washed out several times? If you go back towards Hartford Ave?
Yeah.
Right.
On that big
Those
slope
slopes
right
were-
there?
They were just reseeded again this week, and then the area I believe Joe is also referencing is McIntyre Slope, where I believe the property line cuts off halfway, but we've seeded all the way up to his berm, just to make sure that there's growth established.
And are you using the same seed mix all around, or will the basin area be getting a different seed mix?
It was all spec'd as a prairie mix, but we are adding a little bit of rye to it so that it takes faster, and then stabilizes quicker.
So a prairie mix has some very tall grasses in it, I believe?
Yes.
So you're not going to be maintaining the grass around the detention basin? That'll be
It was never planned to be, no, sir.
never planned to be maintained. Thank you.
Anything else? Any questions from the floor?
I see you got some things for me.
Okay, what do you got?
I have tickets to give to...
Oh, okay, let me finish with I thought you had a question.
No.
Anything from Zoom? Okay.
Yep, I just want to put it in the record for the minutes that the tickets to date are being given to Mr. Roush to give to the owner.
Okay.
No, they go right to me.
Go right to you, okay.
Yep.
Can I pass them down? Thank you.
What are these?
That's the tickets.
You can pay him if you want, Mike.
All right.
Look like trouble.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Oak Street Solar Project, DEP number 1430989. And again, if we can just kind of keep it to the current stuff and
Jason Smith, Blue Wave, 116 Huntington Ave.
Greg Morehouse, Mill Creek Renewables.
Pat Mahan, J. Bates and Son, civil contractor.
What do I? Chuck, can I take first?
Jesse Alderman, attorney in Foley Hoag, outside counsel to Blue Wave.
Could you say your name one more time, please?
Alderman, Alderman is the last name. Jesse is my first name, Jesse.
Thank you, and what was the firm?
Foley Hoag, Foleyhoag.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate being able to present again. We're here after having gotten a lot behind us the last meeting. We'll give you a little bit of a construction update and run through a couple other things.
Currently, the last couple days, we've been hydro seeding the site. We had previously straw mulched the whole site and installed erosion control blankets on all the slopes. So I think by the end of tomorrow, they'll have the rest of the site that hadn't, the rest of the site that needed it is going to be hydro seeded by tomorrow. I'm hoping the end of the day. Yes. So, currently we've installed, hundreds of erosion control blankets on all the slopes and some areas that were going to be a little harder to stabilize over the winter. We've currently rip-wrapped all the swales that were were carrying water over the winter, so those are all rip-wrapped now. We've installed the outlet control structure, outlet pipe, and the portion of the wick drain that goes to the berm in Basin 5. So that's currently installed. And we've been installing a couple other minor stormwater features around the site. I know one area Brandon was asking about was where we've had water running on the right side of the road to Basin 5. We've installed a pipe on the right-hand side that goes across it, so we're going to catch that water up top and convey it to the northern swale that will go directly into Basin 5. So that's what we've been working on the last couple weeks. And we're also moving the rocks that were south of Basin 5 on the other side of the swale. We're continuing to move those. I'm thinking by the end of tomorrow, we should have those all moved out of there. That was just an issue on the Haley Ward report from a bit ago.
Do you guys have any questions about the construction update?
You got anything?
As far as construction update, the outlet structure to Basin 2 is in. You're saying you're doing Basin 5 right now, the outlet structure?
Yes, Basin 2's outlet control structure, but the wick drain, outlet control, all the pipes for the berm were done on Basin 2 previously.
Right.
I'm not sure if that was, get confused about the exact dates we were last year.
Right, okay, so that's pretty much the construction updates, and then there's some stuff going on in Sutton downhill that's really not germane to what you're concerned about here in Douglas. But
Let us just finish, and then I'll get you.
Okay, so I kind of want a point of order on that statement, because I'm that person who's downhill, or one of the people who's downhill in Sutton.
Okay.
And call me later.
All right.
We'll talk.
Thank you.
Yeah, there has been a review of Basin 5 by Haley Ward. We have Corey Broder on Zoom tonight. And there's been a response by Beals and Thomas on that review report that was received on Friday afternoon. So I did an initial review of it over the weekend. Mr. Broder and I talked about it briefly this morning. He hadn't really had a chance to look at it, but he may want to have something to say about that. As may Mr. Murphy, but that's the Basin 5, and there's also some back and forth that's going on Basin 1. Regarding Basin 1, one of the things that is we've been talking about is Blue Wave's ability to perhaps discharge into the drainage ditch on Oak Street. I don't see that happening. There's a prior lawsuit with Mr. Pottles down the street that happened a number of years ago, and there was a settlement with him. It was a 6-digit settlement, and I do not foresee that happening per the agreement with Mr. Pottles, adding more water to that. And, not only that, but the Conservation Commission has discretion over whether or not more water can go into that drainage ditch under Article 11 as well as Article 8 wetlands protection. But, that's where we're at as far as construction updates, and there's been back and forth regarding the design of Basin 5, with the most recent response by Beals and Thomas coming on Friday. So I don't know if we want to hand it over to the engineers or what.
Well, I think that it'd be fair to say that we've provided the remediation plan. We have complied with the remediation plan on the Douglas side. We've responded to the review of Basin 5, which we'd like to hear from Corey as to, given the approved plans and permits, including the building, what would preclude us from moving forward. And then we are willing and prepared to discuss that. And we received, I believe it was the 17th, Basin 1, for which we are responding to, but it was similar, if not exact language from Basin 5 in certain moments. And I think with regards to the design point at the construction entrance, we've already provided the results of that. And with reference to the mention of the swale, there's already water going out through and down the road, and we don't anticipate increasing that amount. The swale is just a way of conveying what is already occurring, for which we've provided the calculations that we are not increasing any of that. So I think for us, at this juncture, we're just wanting to move on and here to discuss about doing the next two basins.
And on that note, Mr. Chairman, the last meeting, the Conservation Commission did two things. You agreed to lift the enforcement order and the fines that go along with it, but also to issue a new condition. And the new condition, there was a motion, but I did not issue it because it was very late, as you all remember. And I think the motion got a little bit muddled. It was more or less, I was talking, and then I think Mr. Mungerman said, yes, as Brandon said, I would prefer it if you ratified the language today on it, so everybody can see it up on the screen and agree with it. And we went back to the tape, and the motion went like this. The applicant shall not proceed to Phase 4 of the project until Phases 1, 2, and 3 are complete and stabilized to the Conservation Commission's satisfaction, and all peer review work surrounding Basins 1 and 5 are complete and resolved.
That's the way I remember it.
I believe that we're already in compliance with the language as far as stabilized, as the definition implies towards the work in place.
Is Basin 3 complete?
I'm sorry, we haven't moved forward with Basin 3. Which basin are you referring to?
Basin 5, I'm sorry. Basin 5, is that complete?
I mean, we haven't. The basin structure is built and the outlet control structure is in through the berm. I mean, we're not intending on discharging through the wick drain yet on Basin 5 until we've completed any cleanup below. So, I mean, it's complete for the holding basin during construction. You know, we wouldn't anticipate discharging that basin.
So it's not totally complete yet?
I think another way of putting it is complete per the sequencing plan and the intent of its use. So in this moment in time, yes.
Well, it's not the motion that was made last meeting that it had to be completed, and wick drains in, all that was supposed to be done.
I'm sorry, I don't see that in the sequencing plan, nor in anything else.
Mr. Chair, if I could ask Jesse Alderman, what is the basis for withholding the ability to proceed to installation of the additional basins?
Because we've had so much problems on the site, we want to make sure the first part of it's correct before we go and bring any more.
Correct in what manner?
Excuse me.
No, Mr. Chair.
It's important that you let me go forward.
One second.
Because I'm the one who's downhill from those two basins, and you're causing my property to be damaged by not letting them move forward. No, sorry, let me reword that. By not letting them move into that part of the property. The current state of the stormwater control is causing, which is per the spec, but the spec does not allow for the topology of that property. And you're causing erosion and damage to my land. That land is a farm. We're growing crops, we're growing food-bearing trees in that land. It is being damaged, it is being eroded. At the minimum, they need to be able to, because the water is flowing, instead of flowing, because we don't have a slope that goes, if this is your silt fence and the slope went this way, everything would be great. But the slope goes like this. So the silt fence is catching the water and it's moving it to the north over to where that wetland area is, at which point it dumps into my land. It's causing my Northwest Grove, which is about 10 to 15 acres, is being significantly damaged. Topsoil being eroded away because of all that water. At the minimum, they need to be allowed to move into that part of the property and create stormwater control at a higher level to keep that amount, to divert the water that's flowing. Whether you let them go to build basin 3 and 4, I don't really care at this point in time. What I do care about is every time I get a rainstorm, even a minor one, because that's a significant surface area that's water's flowing downhill, and it's causing, the damage to my land keeps growing and growing greater. They're working with me to try and mitigate it, but with the limitations you have provided, you have placed upon them, there's only so much that can be done. Again, I don't care right now, I'm not talking about building basin 3 and 4. I'm talking about allowing them into that part of the land, the property, so that they can build diversions, at the minimum, build a diversion swale or other structures to minimize the amount of water that's being concentrated. I mean, the water on that land always came down to mine. It's physically downhill, but it was spread across the slope. Now it gets caught by the silt fence, and it gets being diverted, and it's being concentrated, and it's causing erosion. Okay? This is I mean, I don't know what else. I'm very, very frustrated. They are doing everything possible within the limitations that you have placed upon them to help. But that limitation has reached a point where it has to be modified. Okay, I also have concerns about the designs of the basin. They're also working with us a little bit. We're working on looking at how do we tweak or modify the output from the basin. But that's separate from what I'm talking about right now. Okay, I mean, I'd love to have seen this thing done totally different, but we are where we are. My wife and I have been concerned and complaining since almost immediately when the silt fence went in. And we've been told, go away, don't bother us, you're uplands. Well, you're causing damage to the land. If you don't want to let them go forward with basin 3 and 4, that's fine at this point in time. But please let them have access to that part of the property to provide better stormwater management downhill onto my land. In addition, so it's been, I think it's well known that they're pumping uphill and then flowing down the south side to the south corner of our property with our permission. It's been intimated in public forums that they're dumping silt and other problems in Kempton. No, I have closely watched this. There is no silt being passed their silt fence onto my land. In fact, the majority of that water, when it gets to the stone wall, goes underground. Okay, I was amazed how much water came down that hill. I was expecting, because there is a low spot in that south corner of my property that was effectively a a natural holding pond from the farmers from hundreds of years ago. And with the weeks and months of their pumping since they started that, my soil is finally showing moisture in the soil, whereas before it had gone from having moisture to totally dry. So that has been a huge help doing that. They've showed me reports on the water and the chemicals and other stuff, and everything seems to be fine. But even if there was silt coming through that wall, it's going into the ground. The amount of water that actually made it to the surface was near the wall, maybe a few feet, that was maybe an inch or two deep, and then it disappeared within a day, 2 days of them when the rain stopped. They weren't pumping anymore. There was no more water coming down the hill. So they are working with us. I'm not saying I'm happy with where we are with the design of basin, with the final design of Basin 3 and 4 at the moment, rated to outputs. But I am saying before, whether you give them permission to go forward or not, something has to be, they need to be allowed in there to do stormwater control management. That's my, by the way, Stephen Kroll, 78 Torrey Road, Sutton. It's about 700 linear feet of common property line between them and us. Some of that goes below Basin 5 on the north, on the south side of Basin 5, not where the stormwater output is. So, okay, so thank you. Appreciate your time, appreciate your attention.
Okay. You want to finish?
And I do, and we appreciate that, and we're prepared to comply with, by my read, the dozen or more conditions, of course, in the order of conditions for erosion control, prevention of sedimentation, all of those other things on Mr. Kroll's property as we move forward. Basin 3 and 4, in addition, will work in connection with 1 and 5 to further mitigate the stormwater flow. The system is intended to work as a whole. So we don't see any prejudice to the Concom's ability to review and request modification if necessary, which we don't think it is, but if necessary to the design of 1 and 5. Going, without preventing us from going forward to 3 and 4 will only exacerbate the conditions. We can, as Mr. Kroll said, we can provide additional stormwater control and make the system function properly in the meantime without any prejudice to the peer review of Basins 1 and 5.
So this is up from Basin 2, it runs up back towards the Sutton line, correct? Is that what we're talking about, up where Basin 2 is, and it runs up along the stone wall down?
So if you go, yeah, pretty much, you go to the stone wall, and that corner would be Basin 3,
Right.
and then if you head more towards Basin 5, basically in the middle would be Basin 4.
Okay, so there was some problems up there before. Have you guys corrected all that, the wattles and stuff that got
All of that.
run over and all that?
Yeah, even last time we were here, we showed that those were corrected.
Yeah, I think that one area where, right where we're pumping out a 10 basin, it kind of overflowed that one corner. We've corrected that issue and haven't seen any water heading south of our property to either of the two properties. All the water's been concentrated to the property.
And the one time that it did go south, it was a very small area and it was all clean and it wasn't turbid at all.
And let me just say, you have extremely robust, and as well you should, conditions, in my view, in special conditions and the regular BMP general condition. If there were any issue with water coming off that site as they proceed to install Basins 3 and 4, you can march us back in. I mean, you hear me say it, you can march us back in here with an enforcement order under any number of conditions, just like you did last time. So we think you're adequately protected. And we think if you allow us to move forward, I know it may seem counterintuitive, but if you allow us to move forward, it's actually going to improve conditions overall, as Mr. Kroll said.
Bernie, you got anything?
I think this would be a good time for Mr. Broder to weigh in on his review of Basin 5, and maybe Mr. Murphy to talk about the rebuttal.
I think that there's, Mr. Chair, I think there's just one prudent question, and that is with Corey from Haley Ward. He's provided a review of both basins. And I guess, Corey, I'd like to ask you, did you see anything during?
Wait, whoa, time out.
Why?
It goes through the chair here. You don't be
Okay.
asking people, okay?
Yeah.
So.
So, Chair, would you mind asking
Wait a
him?
minute. I've allowed you guys to say your piece. We've got a couple people in the audience who want to say something, and then we can go see who's on screen, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yes. State your name, please.
Yeah, Bill Cosenza. I'm a resident of Sutton. I live on Lake Manchog. Let me give you a little bit of my background, so you know I'm just coming here not as an angry person, but I've got I do research and development on missiles, I did underwater mines. I did ballistic armor back then, and I'm also recently as a professor in construction manufacturing. And what I am seeing here is something that should have stopped a long time ago. You people that have worked on this site dug that earth to begin with. You knew what the property was like.
Sir,
It's clay.
Chair.
I know, he's ready to be
Good.
jumping up and down, but it was clay. And what I have seen, and I'm just gonna generalize here, is that you are making Band-Aids out of the whole project. You've got pools up there, would be a great swimming area from one to the other. Okay, and all they keep doing is putting in another pool. It doesn't seep into the ground like it's supposed to, which should have been known at the beginning of the whole project. And evidently, it's a continuation of another project. Another project, another project, and another project. And they're pumping now out of those pools, and it is now coming down the backside into the lake. When's it going to stop? That's all I'm saying is it continues, it continues. And it's been going on for now several months.
Thank you.
May we have an opportunity to respond?
Yeah.
Actually, can I rebut just a little bit first?
Okay, you can't keep interrupting the meeting here. You gotta let us.
Okay, I'm sorry, I just have facts.
Okay, but you just can't just,
Well, I asked if I could speak. You say no, then it's no.
okay, you get a chance, but,
We'd be happy to let Mr. Kroll.
no,
speak.
okay?
We
We're
just-
running the meeting, okay?
You asked for us to stick
The
to it.
gentleman to the side, he asked to say something. Not you, okay? I recognize him.
Chair, I asked if the technical experts could respond
Okay.
to correct some inaccuracies in the gentleman's statement.
Yeah, I mean, what we're doing isn't Band-Aid, it's best management practices for construction. And we're using temporary sealing ponds, we're using materials to settle the, we're using basins to settle the silt out of them. It's not Band-Aids, and we're redirecting water to, where it should go. We're not, that water is, as Mr. Kroll said, he knows this land better than anyone, and I don't know the gentleman, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't know Mr. Kroll's land like he does. That's where we're pumping the water to. The water is not leaving his property. And it's not going to wetlands, and it's not going near wetlands. And Brandon, can you respond to that?
Hold on.
I'm taking my orders from the chair.
I'm sorry.
Lisa?
Lisa Malzinski, 60 Oak Street. There's still water at the bottom of Basin 5. It's still sitting there, and every time I go back up there, it's there. The water that leaves the Kroll property, if it moves north, it moves onto our property. I'm tired of hearing about the Band-Aids on Basin 5. Are the infiltration basins working? And I want to hear from Haley Ward what the deal is with the engineering, because this is just going on forever.
Yeah. I mean, this time here, there's nothing else. I want to have the engineers talk. Brad?
Yeah, so it might be a good time to have Corey chime in.
Yep.
So go ahead, Corey.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Corey Broder, Haley Ward. So I don't know if you want me to just respond to that last comment and go through what I have. I did not have adequate time to go through all the comments.
So with that, Corey, do you think you're even ready to speak on it? Do you feel comfortable?
I mean, I can add a couple of key points if that helps. I guess, number one, I was, if I haven't seen the site since last week, or somebody from Haley Ward hasn't seen the site since last week, but they're mentioning stabilization. That was like the number one thing that we asked for. I think that's probably the most important thing for this site right now. And then we have, I mean, I don't want to go through all the comments, but we have some differences, some stuff, you know, that was already peer reviewed at the time of permitting. So I don't know that some of that is relevant at this time. There's some comments about test pits, infiltration. My recommendation probably will be if at Blue Haven everyone is on board, that while they're excavating the wick drains, maybe somebody from Haley Ward and or the town witness the excavation to confirm the soil conditions. That's something that everyone was on board with.
And Corey, can I ask you a question? So what's the rationale behind doing that soil testing?
To confirm the depth of seasonal high groundwater, and that the basin's not within groundwater and the wick drain is above groundwater. You know, there was one comment about the depth of the wick drain and being within the groundwater. I think if they're excavating that out, you know, we can confirm the soil conditions, you know, whether it needs to be raised or lowered, and we can confirm that when they're ready to install that.
Okay. You're also asking about monitoring wells? That was a point of contention.
Suggestion we had. I mean, I guess this was an alternative, or we can observe it, but monitoring wells typically a little more accurate. But so I think one or the other would be acceptable to me. As far as, I mean, I can weigh in a little bit on Basin 5 and holding water at the moment. So the elevation of Basin 5 right now, I don't know, I think it was brought down back to normal elevation or the finished grade, but it's not, I mean, so in the finished condition, it's only gonna hold 4 inches of water, or be required to hold, 3 inches of water, 0.25 feet below the lowest orifice in the basin. So it's gonna have much less water that it's required to be infiltrate, and that the rest of it will be held back and detained and then released slower. So right now it's a temporary sediment basin, and you know, we're not able to see the finished conditions of this yet. So we don't know that it's going to act as designed until the other structure's in. Upstream is fully stabilized, which it sounds like they're on their way to that, and then all the sediment's removed. So I had some comments about the sediment basins, the permanent sediment basins that are upstream of that. I had some requests that they be modeled as separate ponds to show that they can handle the flow and adequately settle out the fine sediments prior to discharge into the basin. I just don't want it to overtop the road and cause erosion that way, and also show that they can convey it. So this, you know, I'll have some comments and things that we can discuss with Beals and Thomas at some point this week probably. But what else was there? There's been some discussion on the volume and where water was discharged out of Basin 5, I think, this evening, and I had a comment about the, you know, controlling the volume. I guess my request is more centered towards ensuring that the volume is more or less the same to the downstream wetlands, resource areas. But you want to show that there's whether it's a change in volume, if that volume affects the functionality of the wetland, or it's a requirement under documented compliance section for stormwater management, the volume. There was some question whether it's required or not, and in Beals and Thomas' responses, there is a requirement. It's more centered towards Wetland Protection Act, and so whether it's an increase or decrease, you need to show that, if there was an adverse effect to the well and your biological community, and you also got to show there's no flooding downstream. So there's, so those are the things that I'll have comments on. Again, I didn't go that in depth yet. I just received the comments really over the weekend. But I can certainly, I don't want to get too technical during the public hearing here, but that's where I'm at.
So Corey, not that like your lawyer here, but just to get clarification, I mean, it sounds like you have some disagreements.
Chair, may we respond?
Can you let him finish?
Yeah, absolutely. I just thought you were asking the questions you said.
May I ask him a question?
Yeah.
Thank you. So go ahead, Corey. Are there differences in opinion here about the functionality of at least Basin 5 and concerns over the site in general and how it was designed and constructed?
I think at this point it would be more a request for more information. That stuff. It may have already been presented at some point. It just wasn't what I was given. Like I said about the volumes, confirming the soil conditions with the test pits. One thing I've been consistent basically my whole career here on using infiltration basins for construction runoff. I've been, pretty much every review I've done in the last 15 years in design, I haven't allowed that, or at least not agreed with it. I've seen too many issues with it long term. So I think that might be, if you're referring to a disagreement, that might be where we're at, because I think there's been some pushback on that end. But it's pretty clear in stormwater management that it does not allow the infiltration basins to be used for construction sediment control. So I'd say as long as the sediment's removed prior to that basin, that'd be okay with. I think their intent, according to their stormwater report, that the permanent sediment basins are proposed. This is the sediment basins that are upstream of their basins. They're proposed to control flow of the stormwater during and after construction before stormwater enters the infiltration basins. I think there's just far too much sediment getting into those basins right now, and that can be detrimental to the infiltration of the basin, to the performance of the basin. So.
Yes, sir.
Back to you.
I guess, Corey, I'm hearing you say recommendations in disagreement with the approved plans. You've also identified that it was already approved and reviewed by a third party that was during the permitting of the plans, the permitting review. So I guess my question is, did you find anything when you reviewed the approved and permitted plans that does not meet code?
You're on mute.
You're on mute, Corey.
Sorry. Yeah, I think other than what I stated about the infiltration basin not being used as for sediment control, I believe as far as runoff, for Basin 5, so I've only reviewed Basin 1 area and Basin 5 at this time, so I can't really comment on the rest of the site.
No, and we understand that, and we appreciate that. The only thing we're asking about is what you have reviewed. And so I guess, are you familiar on page 7 of the civil plans that you were provided the sequencing plan?
Well, in the sequencing plan, there's a couple things that didn't happen during construction, and that was the...
But are you familiar with the sequencing plan, though?
Am I familiar with it?
Yes, yes.
Yes, I've looked at it several times.
Okay. And in the sequencing plan...
Basins were not installed prior to the infiltration basins. That's why there were issues. The Basin 2 it was, but the Basin 1 and 5, those weren't installed, and they were issues with sediment downstream because those weren't installed.
I mean, I think Basin 5, the way it had to be constructed, it was, the Basin 5 sediment basin, I think, was in before, Basin 5 was fully built, but the way the site was in that area, it kind of had to be built together. The same thing with Basin 2, some of these are fills and cuts, and you have to kind of make it all work together,
I know, you just asked me the question.
No, yeah, and I was just...
That it wasn't, number 8, contractor shall establish sediment basins prior to beginning infiltration basin construction. And like I said, I don't believe that was done for Basin 1 and 5.
Are you familiar with what Pat was saying? That the cuts and fills would require them to be done simultaneously, especially with the requirement that we had in the conditions not to import any additional soil?
I mean, that's the means and methods of how you construct it isn't necessarily meaning the sequencing, though, is what I'm saying.
Okay. So I guess I don't understand what you're saying then, because if we can't import soil, and we can't import soil...
I'm just confirming here that you asked me if the construction sequencing was done, if there anything was different from what was done and what's listed on the construction sequencing, correct?
No, I just asked you if you're familiar with them.
Yes, and I answered that. Yeah.
Okay. And so was there, I think I also want to make sure that I heard you correctly, that from what you've seen for Basin 1 and 5, that there's not anything that has not met code that you have found. Is that correct?
Well, no, I stated that you're using the basins for temporary sediment control, which is not to the stormwater standards. It's very, very clear. It says they must not be used for temporary sediment control.
And I mean, and I don't know, the construction sequencing said that we had to build the basins first, so I don't know how we do that without
Using them?
using, the way the site is, the sequencing was you had to build those basins first, so.
Right, but they should, I mean, like I said, I mean, the infiltration basins aren't supposed to be used for temporary sediment control. Your sediment basins, the upstream basins for that, is what you intended to use for sediment control, and that's what the design methodology shows. It didn't mention anything to use those other basins. The sediment entering, there shouldn't be any sediment entering that basin, or very, limited anyway. That's.
And I think, understand that, and I think we've stated pretty clearly, we're going to, when, we have cleaned sediment out of the basins, and we will, before the final product's completed, we will clean all the sediment out of the basin and restore it to the intended function.
So does that mean that you're using it for what you're not supposed to use it for then?
No, I think...
I'm just asking because he's saying that you can't use it for one part, and then you said you're not, but then you're going to clean everything out again at the very end, which basically sounds like you're using it for what non-intended purpose.
Jeff, can you respond directly?
Engineer respond.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Good evening, Jeff Murphy, civil engineer, Gales and Thomas. Yeah, so I mean, again, I think the one thing that I want to, emphasize is these construction sequencing notes were added to the plan to be a general outline of how we envision things, going in terms of sequencing. They were never intended to be literal, prescriptive, means and methods directives. So just want to say that, and again, like contractor means and methods, that's something that's within the realm of the contractor of how to physically build a project. And again, it was necessary to get the basins installed and have those ingredient forebays put in place as soon as practicable. And again, like, it's not our role to dictate how a contractor builds a project. We understand the concern of not wanting to use the basins for sediment purposes, but in this instance, there's really no other way that I can see that would have been possible. So again, I think it's an idealized scenario that the basins wouldn't be used, but it's not remotely feasible in my opinion.
Mr. Chair, I also, if I may, want to call your attention to something that Haley Ward said, that Mr. Brodeur said, which is that Basin 5 will not hold water once it is in finished condition and functions, quote, the system functions, quote, as intended. What we have here is a system, and I'm trying to get back to my original point, which is we have a system that functions in totality with 5 basins. If we're holding completion of that system, we're exacerbating the condition that Mr. Brodeur mentioned with the infiltration basin holding settlement. We're exacerbating the flow down below. We need to be able to complete the entirety of the project for it to be assessed for design and function. If there are legitimate issues, then we would, Jeff and the project team and Corey will all get together and we'll have to mitigate any existing issues. But we're talking about how a roof will function when all we have is the foundation of the house right now. We need to be able to construct the system as it was designed. And I understand that there's sequencing notes, but there was never, and the system is not intended to sit with half of it built and half of it not built. It's creating, in my opinion, and I think from what I'm hearing from the technical experts, a situation which is doing more harm than good to the environment. So I really would think that we can run on parallel tracks here, where we continue to have these productive conversations with the peer reviewer, but we have to get working on 3 and 4.
What's your input?
Well, thinking about this, so they go forward with 3 and 4, there's going to be more exposed soil as opposed to less. I don't understand that logic.
So, can I speak to that, please? So we already have what the issue was for basins 2 and 5. We needed to strip that soil down to build those. We do not need to strip the land in phase 4 to build basins 3 and 4. That is not going to be touched until those basins are fully constructed, so that extremely mitigates any risk of any incident like we had in Basin 5, where we get caught in these huge rainstorms with no capacity to hold that water.
At the same time, we've got phases 1, 2, and 3 still with exposed soil everywhere.
Well, I think that it's intended in a specific way, per the code, I believe, for it to be stabilized as it is right now, in construction. I think the specific definition is stabilize the use of vegetation and/or non-vegetative cover to prevent erosion and sediment loss in areas exposed through the construction process, for which we have been doing. And there has been no sediment that has left the site, nor is there a threat. I think you confirmed this last Wednesday in the walk to a buffer zone and/or a wetland. And I think that we've confirmed with the lifting of the enforcement order, nor has there a threat there either. So I'm confused at what we're talking about. It's a construction site. We will find exposed soil, and I believe it says 5 acres, isn't it, that we can have exposed, and the rest needs to be stabilized in some way. And we've been doing that since January, straw or mats or what have you.
And now see.
Yeah, I think there's really 3, rather than looking at the visual condition of the soil, if I could suggest some guardrails that we are intending to put on and you can hold us to, which is that they'll have the erosion control blankets down on any slopes. It's 3 to 1.
3 to 1.
Any slopes of 3 to 1 or greater. And the project engineer, and we're happy to have the peer reviewer come out as well and meet on site and discuss where this might happen. But if there's any areas of stormwater flow that require additional stabilization, we will build, as we have already in the interim phases, stone barrier or riprap, so that there's no concentrated stormwater flow. And then, as we said, we're hydro-seeded, or we will be by close of business tomorrow. So I'm not sure what else we can do other than sit here until, a year from now. I mean, the status quo the system needs to be built. I'm repeating myself now, Mr. Chair, but I think that there's BMPs, there's traditional erosion control measures. We can go on site and we can assess those. We can all come to agreement, including with Haley Ward, including with a site visit from the Concom on what might be needed there. But it's traditional erosion controls. I mean, bare soils, like we said, bare soil is going to be out there on a construction site until it's done.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I think that we're beating a dead horse at this point, so it still comes back to the condition that was voted on last meeting and your comfort with the situation. Do you want to go forward with the condition?
Well, I'm sitting back listening to what's been said, okay? Number one, you got an engineer telling me that the basin shouldn't have been used for the sediment, okay? But yet I got you guys telling me that you can do it. And as far as Mr. Knoll's property, from what I was told, you were asked to direct the water down that way, okay? So now I have Mr. Knoll, hold up.
Kroll.
It's Kroll, K-R-O-L.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kroll. Now he's saying that he's getting erosion there. So I'm a little confused if
Okay.
Can I finish?
I just want to.
Can I finish? So I'm a little confused if he was asked to direct the water down there, but all of a sudden now we got erosion, and it's taking place over time. I just don't understand how we get there. If it was asked to do it, and it's too much water, why are we continuing to do it?
I can respond. It's the same answer.
Well, they can be Kroll.
No.
Yeah, either way.
He's going to answer the question, let him answer it, okay?
The silt fence is directing the water to the north part of his property. We're pumping the water to the south part of his property. That's where, so in essence, the silt fence is taking water away from the southern end of his property and sending it north. We're now pumping it around and pumping it to the south. So when the rainwater hits, we have no control of phase 4. We can't go in there. That water goes down and travels north, and that's where he's getting issues in his property. His property, he said it was 700, it's 1,200 feet long. So we have probably the southern, say, 200 feet of his property where that land's getting dried up, according to the Krolls, and we're directing that water to the south. When it rains, we can't stop it. It goes north and follows the silt fence, because the pitch of the silt fence
Doesn't follow contour.
It heads downhill north, the property line, not just the silt fence, because that's what the silt fence follows.
Yes,
What do you mean, or by? I'm sorry.
Let me hear Mr. Kroll first, and
Okay,
then,
so, as he said, Brandon, can you put the property line or the map up there? Because I think it would help a lot to make sense of this. I have a small.
Mr. Chairman, should I do that?
okay,
But
we're going to try to keep going, but I have at 10 o'clock, we're going to take a vote whether we're going to continue this hearing or not, okay? So we got to kind of,
can I have 2 minutes?
yeah, you get 2 minutes.
Okay. It's as he said, it's 1,200 feet of property line. It is not 100% sloped to the north. From the south side corner of the property where they're pumping water, it goes uphill, very slight grade, for about 200 feet maybe, at which point it starts sloping downhill in the northerly direction towards that wetland waterway and then where Basin 5 is. So the water that they're pumping out of my property is staying on that south side, and it is not causing any erosion. the water that's causing the erosion, okay, Basin 5 is, and the wetland area, is the water that's coming down the slope. It hits the silt fence hits where the wetland resource area is, that is a big J-hook there, at which point it gets caught. And this is also the water coming down the hill from where Basin 4 would go, what I call the Basin 4 slope. Okay, it comes down the hill, gets concentrated, hits that J-hook right before that's protecting the wetland resource area, goes through the stone wall onto my land in a very concentrated area, hits what we call our Northwest Grove, okay, which is uphill from Lisa. Okay, there's multiple stone walls between this property line and Lisa's property line. Do not believe that any silt has left my land onto Lisa's land. Has water? Yes. Water has always gone there every time there's a storm. But the water has been, the rain, it sort of goes everywhere. Whereas at this point, I've got water coming almost like, an intermittent waterway at this point. It's digging channels through the soil, washing away topsoil, which is not leaving my land, but it's not, it's not nice and smooth like it was, where you can plant it. I've got rock showing up underneath it. They have placed, in conjunction, working very closely with us, Pat Bates has placed many wattles to help mitigate, control the erosion situation, at least at this point in time. That wasn't going on early on. And so what I'm asking, whether you let them go forward with Basin 3 and 4 or not, that phase of the project is, I'm asking for an interim step. I'm asking for you to just allow them into that area to provide stormwater control to minimize what's coming into that north corner of the property. It's not all the way over. It's not the full 1,200 feet. Okay? To minimize the erosion. And again, eventually, and that's also affecting the water that goes down to Lisa's land.
Can I make a suggestion that might simplify this whole thing? Is there any wetlands resource area on your property,
No.
on the south end of your property?
So the only,
So like from the corner here down to where it says Sutton Douglas, is there any wetland behind basin number?
the entire property line is upland officially.
So what is that erosion protection doing there? If it's not protecting a wetland, why can't we just remove that?
It's called stormwater control management.
Yeah, why can't that sediment fence be removed
Oh,
so
you
that
mean
the
on-
water can flow onto your land at the southern end of your land? And so it's dissipating more
That's a
over a
question.
bigger area.
That sediment, we've been asking that question since the day they put the fence in. And this committee has told, and Brandon has told us that it is a state mandated requirement to surround that construction zone with sediment control.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
So,
Mr. Kroll, he's had 5 minutes now.
yeah,
so-
sorry, I'm,
Thank you.
I wanted to hear what Ms. Mazinski has to say.
Lisa?
Lisa?
So, gentlemen, this water, we have to go back to December. This water is being directed on somebody else's private property, which then goes on someone else's private property, and then can either go towards Torrey Road, which is a wetlands that supports Stevens Pond, or it can go north and end up in Manchog Pond. It's water. It's going to do that. But it shouldn't be, a private operation shouldn't be directing it onto someone else's private property. This has been going on for months. And I love the analogy, build it all and then we'll test it. That's like, I'm going to build you a house, and then when you walk in the door, with that key, you're going to find out the plumbing doesn't work. We need to know that this system, at least one of these infiltration basins, works to specifications, and that this plan is working to the as-built and as specified. I keep seeing Basin 1 across the street from me. It keeps getting higher and higher and higher. Was that approved? Is this being built according to the plans? And until we get definitive results from Haley Ward, I don't think another step should be taken. So I implore you, gentlemen, to stand your ground and make sure this project is done the way it should be. Thank you.
Okay,
Chair, may we respond?
at this time, I've been directed, I gotta take a vote at 10 o'clock, okay, whether we're gonna continue this meeting or not. So, I'd like to take a roll call vote whether we continue.
Mr. Chairman, point of order, this isn't actually a public hearing, it doesn't need a record of continuance.
Okay.
It's just something we keep on the agenda and move forward. From what I'm hearing, obviously the applicant is taking steps to establish stabilization on basins 5 and basins 2 and basins 1, which we've asked them to do. They've responded to peer review number 5. We're asking them to respond to peer review number 1. And I think if we target the May 20th meeting, responses and addressing all the stabilization, at that time, this board could decide on whether or not whether to move the project forward into phase 4. I think that's perfectly reasonable and sound.
May 20th or May 6th?
Yeah, May 6th.
Which one was that, Matt?
May 13th is the next one.
May 13th, yes.
The May 20th meeting is the meeting that we're creating to take on the enforcement order items.
Yes.
The May 13th is already go to public hearings.
Yeah, so May 20th.
Okay, but I'm a little confused by the suggestion, because it was suggested that we address the issue of stabilization, but that what further is needed to be addressed. The conditions in the enforcement order were all met, and the enforcement order is lifted. The stormwater mitigation continues. The site has been hydroseeded. So I'm a little, it feels like it feels like an amorphous target. We're telling you today that we're here and we're ready. If you'd like to agree to any number of conditions for erosion control as we move forward, we would welcome that, and we would welcome a site visit. But what the engineers are telling you, including your peer reviewer, is that the system, it doesn't make sense to look at Basin 1 and 5 in isolation. The system works as a combined unit. The plumbing analogy, respectfully, isn't apt. What you need to do is get to that point where you can go through the checklist and see if you get a certificate of occupancy or not. There's no, we can't, we're not looking at the right designs and asking the right questions until the units function together. So we really need to move forward. We really need to move into the 3 and 4 area to address the additional stormwater management, the erosion controls, and then to get the water out of Basin 5 and 1, which, as Haley Ward said, will decrease when there is a finished condition and the units are all working together. Do I have that right? Mm-hmm. So another month is, in our view, counterproductive. The site's seeded. The mitigation's there.
Well, seating is not establishment. It's not.
But that's stabilization under the state storm. No, stabilization under the state stormwater standards is seeding. It's not vegetative growth. That's not what the term means under the regulations, respectfully.
Bill Cosenza, once again, Sutton. So what you're saying, gentlemen, is that if you do what you want to do, by the end of that term, that you're going to complete the project and there will be no sediment runoff anyplace. Is that what you're saying? You guarantee that? Will you put that in guarantee words? Because I haven't seen any guarantees yet at all. So if
I
you
mean, that's not a
guarantee
legal
that,
standard, but there'll be
I
some.
think, you know, I mean, it's easy to talk, sit there and say something, but I haven't seen it being done.
Okay, I want to kind of wrap this up a little. Yes, Shirley?
Shirley Mazinski, 60 Oak Street. We've been going through this, as my daughter said, too many months. And I never get the answer that's been asked by various people. Was this project built to how it was designed? And you can sit there,
Hold on.
you can come up with all these, if you let us do this and if you let us do that. But guess what? You come up when it's pouring rain, or even not raining as much as it did, I think it was last week, and you will see water pouring out of the wall by Bill and Laurie's and down the road, that way. And you will see water pouring out of telephone poles and out of walls and going down the hill the other way. Never mind what's happened with Basin 5 leaking again. And my greatest fear is that it gets rushing through with silt, and it isn't even finished cleaning up, and into Lake Manchug again. And what do we see? Brown water. Let's be real.
Chair, we have been going through this for a long period of time, and so far, we've stabilized the site, silt's not leaving it. We have 2 reviews that prove that there's no code violations. There's a few recommendations which we're open to being able to talk to about, but none of it precludes us from moving forward. And that is what we're here for. We have an approved plan set. It was reviewed originally by a third-party engineer chosen by the town, and we continue to work with the town on the things that are necessary to make the construction project reflect what was permitted in the end.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I recommend moving this to May 20. Our consultant, Haley Ward, just got this on Friday. He was able to talk about it a little bit, but he still needs to review the Thomas response, so we can talk a little bit more intelligently about it then.
And on what legal authority are we precluded from constructing to the approved plans?
The Conservation Commission has controlling authority over all construction. And their authority is to stop you from doing that right now.
Well, I'm not sure that's legally accurate, sir.
Then that's for an injunction.
So you're saying that we can't proceed with approved plans, and you would make us go and get an injunction in court simply because there's dissatisfaction with some...
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. We've given these guys over an hour of our time. Over 1 hour. It's 10:05 right now. Yeah. I move for a vote to either continue the meeting or end the meeting at this point. And we'll continue the Oak Street discussion on the 20th.
Got a motion to...
It doesn't need to be a motion. It's just a declaration by the chairman.
Okay.
Sure. Let's wait till the 20th, finish it up then.
What's this, Mr. Chair, and what's the status of the condition?
The meeting's only supposed to be for 2 hours, and we're on our third hour
And this is what
right
happened
now.
last time. Did the condition get voted in or not? I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty here. We're asking there's a process. We have an order of conditions. We have approved plans. They've been built to spec. There was an enforcement order which has been lifted. We are coming here in the interest of comity and cooperation, and we're being told yet again not to move forward. On what legal basis, we're not sure. We're going to respect the wishes. We're going to work with this commission. But I understand that it's late, but we're not getting treated with the due respect that I believe the applicant deserves. You said march into court, that's for an injunction. Sir, that's not how it's supposed to work. We're all supposed to respect the law and the jurisdiction and the authority. So I'm asking under what authority, other than that you're asking us to do it, should we not be able to build to approved plans? plans have been approved. We're not in violation of any condition of the order of conditions.
Well, you are in violation of the one we put in last one. We said we wanted the basins completed.
But I don't believe that that was validly voted in. And your own peer reviewer is telling you that that's not a wise course of action.
It was voted, what I was asking for tonight is ratification of the language, so everybody can be clear on it.
We're not clear on it. I don't think it, I understand what you put on the screen. I'm not sure that was what was, I don't want to hold anybody here after 10, but I think we all have to play by the same set of rules.
So, I mean, do you want to vote on the language?
Hold on a minute. Who's,
My wife.
Mr. Chairman, we gotta move on.
we gotta move on here. I mean, I can't, I'm not gonna,
Okay.
we're not staying here this late.
Yeah.
So, I want to move it to the 20th.
I would say that we need to ratify that language before we end this meeting tonight.
All right, let me bring it back up.
But what legal authority is the Conservation, are you rescind, you would have to vote to amend the order of conditions. See, that was not publicly noticed.
Condition 6 allows the Conservation Commission to add conditions. So the condition, and you tell me if you agree with it, the applicant shall not proceed to Phase 4 of the project until Phases 1, 2, and 3 are complete and stabilized to the Conservation Commission's satisfaction, and all review and peer review work surrounding Basins 1 and 5 are complete and resolved.
So just so you know, as amended, this becomes appealable again, and we'll have to reserve all rights to appeal.
This is Condition 6 that allows the commission.
No, sir, that's not how it works. If you are amending the order of conditions, which you've done without public notice, so which is not lawful in and of itself, then you are adding to the order of conditions. It reopens our 20-day appeal window, and we will reserve rights to do that.
Go for it.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Mark Mangum, aye.
Jim Foran, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Josiah Birch, I'm abstaining because this is old business that the board is, I don't know how long, Oak Street has been a mess, but...
This is on what we have voted on last meeting.
Yeah, I wasn't here for that because I abstained because that was my first meeting. This is my second career meeting here at Conservation, and so I'm abstaining.
Joe Fatashik, aye.
Katie Dudley, aye.
Okay, moving it to the 20th.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Can we take that vote now, whether we're going to close the meeting?
I was told that we didn't. Matt says discussion.
Well,
I was told differently that
so maybe we can bring Matt
we
back
can have a
into this.
vote by the members.
Yeah, let me bring Matt back in this, because I understood that if, after the meeting goes for 2 hours, the commission has to vote as to whether or not they want to continue to, with the public meeting, but...
Well, that's what I did at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
I was told that there's discussion.
It's 10 past 10.
Right, so I don't know if he's still there. Matt, what do you think?
I think we have one more item to discuss. I think it's only fair to the folks who waited long enough to discuss that item.
That's old business for me also, so I'm just going to abstain, so you guys have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is Lakeshore Drive enforcement. The plans are-
Yeah, the packet stays. If there's anything you want in the packet that you want to take home, take it home. But leave the folder so Jen can fill it back up for the next one. Thanks for coming, Josiah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Good night.
Yep.
Brandon, you might want to pull your screen share up.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. Thank you. Okay, we're ready.
Ready?
All right, well,
You want a copy?
yeah, I'll slide one down.
Mike, do you need a copy? Or you good?
Pardon?
Do you want a copy?
Yeah, what this is just Dave Cahill, Lake Shore Drive. There's 162-foot elevation between Northwest Main and the 90-degree corner down there. So what this plan shows is coming down the first, just swales through the woods until we hit the lower point where detail A is 2 catch basins there.
Get the time on that.
Then it levels off to,
Where do those 2 catch basins drain to?
they go 160 feet down on the property, underneath the ground in a 12-inch pipe.
Where's the outfall for them?
It's right about here.
So it's not shown.
It's not shown because I didn't ask permission from the guy. This is all brand new, we extended it another, just the water dissipates in a low-lying area. There's 2 places, detail A, and then when you get to detail B, it's the same thing. There's one on each side of the road, culverts, and that goes 90 feet on detail B on the north side.
Can those distances be added to the plan?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. But anyway, this starts on the south side, goes over to the north side, 60-foot, 8-inch pipe, then the 12-inch pipe goes 90 feet down in the woods. And then we have some natural swales. You can see how the swales and gravelly area. There's a big swale here. I talked to the property owners, we're going to be putting another culvert in the future. This water goes across the street like there. There's a culvert here, detail C, and that just gets distributed right on the other side of the road. What's that, 60 feet or something? And there's, next is another swale. And Mr. Goodison put a stormwater system in up on the bottom of Lot E here, which is, that's detail D. And then this segment down here, detail D, you can see all the ones that were installed on Mr. Goodison. So no water gets, I mean, there's such a small percentage that would even reach that 90-degree bend. And for 1,000 years, it was triple, seasonals triple. Yeah, went, from like the 90-degree corner here into the pond at a low-lying area. But if you look at the details, those are piping, and you can see the natural swales and cut into the woods there.
It's not the best as-built plan I've ever seen.
Huh?
It doesn't have any, it doesn't show any topography or grades.
I got all the other ones here, the other Heritage and,
The as-built?
oh, no, but I can have them put on.
That would be
I mean, they were, the reason why we didn't do it is because I pushed him so much. He had a big problem with sickness in the firm with the guy that does the CADs. So I could get that done and get it to you probably within a couple days, now that he's back up and running good,
Yeah, I mean,
No, I understand.
the topography, but also, like, what's going on around, the surrounding landscape, where are the structures, where's the tree line, other, landscape features that are of note that would help orientate, those kinds of things.
I had called him back and see if he could get it done, but he said he needed 2 or 3 days because I wanted to get more shots where they disperse into the woods in the back there too, so.
Okay.
Okay. So you're going to make your corrections on that and get it back to us?
Yeah, I mean, he'll just add them on. I mean, he's got all the elevations and stuff. It's just they tried to get me something. I kind of pushed him.
Yeah, I'd like a little length.
No problem.
Okay.
So that's that. I have something else to bring up. I don't know
How's
if
it been with the rains that we've had? Is it working well? How's it been working when we've had heavy rains since you've gotten
Jack
it
goes to
installed?
55 ratio. Also, the other plot. Since I put in the 2 water retention ponds with the collection tank, all the water that's coming in has been well below the level of the ponds. And I intentionally breach it into this tank, and it's running well. Nothing is coming back to the road. It all runs underneath my driveway and then goes down a long slope and eventually hits the stream.
Thank you.
You all set?
Not quite.
Okay.
New issues to bring up. Down in Manchog Pond, there's been some photographic evidence of a orange Kubota, either on the bank or even in the water, moving rocks that look like they appear to be coming from the land under the water onto the bank associated with Mr. Moran's property. And this picture right here is the end result. There are boulders along the bank and along the shore on Mr. Moran's property next to Manchog Pond, which I'll remind you is a Great Pond of the Commonwealth, which means that this is a public pond, which means that the land below the bank is public property. So if, number one, this work, my knowledge, was never authorized by the Conservation Commission, and if there was a machine below the bank, that's very problematic, and if these boulders came from below the water, which, if you look at the staining, at least on this boulder right here, I think it's very likely that they did come from out here in the water. It's not just a Conservation Commission Wetlands Protection Act issue, it is also a Chapter 91 licensing issue with the Department of Environmental Protection. So I want to bring this is a new violation that I need to bring to the Commission's attention. And it's not just the Commission. I think that the Chapter 91 folks at DEP need to be brought into this, because this is a great pond. Okay, so that's Mr. Moran's land. Now, that said, I was right on the property boundary with Mr. Goodison's land, so I looked over on Mr. Goodison's side, and I saw some freshly placed rocks here as well, along the bank, and also this structure right here, which looks like a stone, little stone wall with some stairs going down to it. Here's another picture on the Moran side of the freshly placed boulders. But also here on the Goodison side, this is new work right here, and there's some some freshly placed stones over here as well along the bank. So there's issues, violations, in my opinion, on both properties. So this is stuff that needs to be discussed now, and what do you want to do?
Do you know who was operating the machinery?
I have been told that it was Chris Wendell of Wendell Landscaping, which is in Sutton.
Yeah, this is Robert Moran, 56 Lake Shore. I'll confirm that. That was Chris Wendell. And, I mean, if it's acceptable to the chair, I have some comments to add.
We're making quick, because we're going to continue anything, if it gets too drawn out, we're going to continue it to the 20th. But I'll give you a couple minutes.
Okay, I think I heard you say if it gets drawn out, we'll continue it.
Yeah, I said if it gets drawn out, we're going to continue it, we're going to continue the 20th
Yeah,
if it
just
gets
had
drawn
trouble
out.
hearing you.
But I will
So-
give you some time.
Yes. The machine was clearly at the edge of the bank, and you know, the order did require us to remove sediment, which is in and amongst the rocks. So he did move the rocks, and ostensibly to get to the sediment, the order does require us to reuse the sediment and mix it in with the loam that we would propose to continue on the grading. So, I mean, clearly there was some movement of the rocks, but it's also, the intent, I think, was to stabilize the bank. And, you know, hopefully the commission recognizes that. You know, anytime you have to remedy a less than ideal situation, which this was, there's some necessary disturbance, but ultimately it was my contractor on my property, so you know, whatever the commission decides, I will adhere to. But this is not a concrete or pressure treated wall. This is natural rock put into the bank in a manner that's not inconsistent with other you know, other construction around the lake. So the alterations aren't unnatural, but, and you know, the machine was a new machine. There was no oil or fuel leaks, so hopefully the commission considers that. I guess the question would be, what do we do from here? Respectfully. Yeah, this is a picture of where the sediment was, and clearly it's in and amongst the rocks. The dock came out before the season was over, and you know, we did have to get to the sediment. I don't think the sediment was as high as is shown in this view. This is from last summer, right after the rains. But it still remained in and amongst the rocks.
Mr. Aaron, was this work done while the pond level was down, when the water level was down?
It was done on March 6th, and the records will show there was a pretty significant rainstorm on March 7th, and the order required us to complete those, you know, remove the sediment from the lake before the water level came up. So given that it was early March with heavy rains and the target is to get the lake at full middle of April, it was clear that this was essentially the last chance to get the sediment out before the lake level came up.
I mean, I understand that they're working around rocks to try to get the sediment out, but that's a lot of shifting of rocks, and it's how they all ended up against the bank.
Nice and neat.
Is nice and neat, is not just working, you know, having to work them and move them to get the sediment out. That's that looks like very deliberate placement of the rocks, to me.
Yeah, I wasn't present the day this occurred. I came back and found this, but as I say, it's my property. So whatever is the will of the commission and in this process, I will work with.
That's not true.
Hold on. Hold on.
Oh, Dave, oh.
Hold on. You all set?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
I did have one comment about the plan that was first shown. But
it's not done yet.
And then that is. I'm sorry?
That plan's not complete yet. He's making some updates to that plan.
Yeah, the comment on the plan is it actually doesn't show a significant drainage element, and Jack mentioned it, Mr. Goodison mentioned it, there's a drainage pond that would be the northeast corner of Lot E, that's approximately 30 foot wide by 50 foot. And it's functioning, it works, but it also has I think about a 75-foot pipe that goes across Lake Shore and connects to the culvert system. And as the plan's going to be updated, I think it's reasonable for the commission to see that drainage infrastructure on the plan. That's the only comment I have on that.
Okay.
You know, this all started with 10 yards coming off my property, which never happened. They trucked stone out of there. I got on my surveillance camera, trucking stone out. We got plenty of videos for the next meeting.
Trucking stone out, what does that mean?
Trucking it out.
Yeah, what stone, from where?
From the pond.
So you're telling me that they moved stone out of the pond?
Yeah, he took boulders out, he took everything out.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, they took truckloads out of the pond, and they trucked them out.
So you're telling me the boulders were removed from the land underwater in Manchug Pond and taken off-site?
Yes, I got videos of everything.
That would be a major Chapter 91 violation if so. Okay.
And, you know, he said 10 yards, it was probably 5 or 6 wheelbarrows of sediment that.
Well, yeah, well, the sediment that I saw was really isolated to that one side of the dock.
Yeah, it was, you know, very little.
It wasn't that much material
No.
compared to the amount of boulders that were moved and then placed all in a row along the bank, which I don't think.
Well, he placed them all on the property line with the adjacent.
Yeah,
and plus trucked them out.
With the removal of the sediment, you know, you work the best you can in between the rocks, but the rocks were there before, so the rocks are supposed to stay in the same place.
You know,
if they are moved, then it requires an order of conditions from the Conservation Commission and also a Chapter 91 license from the DEP, because this is land underwater associated with the Great Pond.
Correct.
Okay?
Just, it's a sad situation.
Here's the thing is that unless we have documentation that any rocks or boulders were actually taken off-site, that I didn't see any of it. But the boulders that are there along the bank, I think I can make a pretty good case that they did come from the land underwater, and that's enough of a violation for now. But if you have anything new that shows that boulders were actually taken, like, out of Lakeshore Drive, then please provide it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Do you want to continue this to the 20th?
Yeah.
Yep. We're going to have to.
And you know.
Is there any kind of enforcement order that we should put in place about the work?
That's up to you. I think that it would be.
Is this being done under a notice of intent?
No, this has all been done on an enforcement order that goes back to what, August or July?
Yeah, July.
Right. So Mr. Moran was ordered to remove the sediment that moved downhill out of the pond. And then now what we got is the boulders that are lined up on the bank and potentially taken completely off-site and down the road, which I don't think is in compliance with the enforcement order. Well, there's nothing left to cease and desist on, right?
It's all done. I've already done it.
What the heck?
It's terrible.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say to do. I mean,
Jeff.
Oh, perhaps a second,
Fine that you can do.
you can do $200 a day fine if you wanted to. That's a
but to
prerogative.
then do what?
Yeah.
I mean, what are we asking them to do?
Right. Well, to put everything back the way it was. But here's the thing is that now we're dealing with the Great Pond. We're not dealing just with town of Douglas land. We're dealing with waters of the state. Right?
I mean, I think.
So I think what I
cease and
should.
desist, I think, is the right idea, is to
Well, I'm
not
just saying
do
so that
anything
nothing
further
else gets
until
done.
we can
That is-
review it, that we can look at it, that we can see what's going on, what happened here, make an assessment, see videos, see
Right, so
pictures.
May
And
20.
then at our next meeting, we can say, you messed up. This is wrong, you did the wrong thing, it's,
Okay, should I also contact Chapter 91?
Well, why don't we wait and see
no.
what we have
I say, yeah,
before we...
that's part of our assessment.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And then there's Mr. Goodson. Yep. Those stones along the bank look fresh to me as well. Whether I was told that those stones came from up above and not from the lake, though, which would make it still a violation, maybe not as egregious a violation, but it's still a violation that needs to be dealt with.
So,
Well, there was a
Mr. Chairman.
structure that was formed on one of the properties. Was it the Moran property or the Goodison property?
May I introduce a thought? So what we're looking at possibly two separate things here. We have an existing enforcement order where sediment was seemingly removed as part of that enforcement order. Now, there was additional stuff done, I understand that. That could be a separate order, but we have to focus on the existing order here. And one of those was to submit the as-built plan, which is apparently incomplete. That seems to be the last leg of this enforcement order. And if the commission is interested in issuing additional enforcement, that would be under a different enforcement order to the agreed parties individually. Because right now, the existing enforcement order captures the road, the homeowner association, and everyone.
Yeah.
True, yeah. We should take this one step at a time.
Yeah.
So the last step there was the as-built plan, which there are going to be some improvements made to it, and then we'll deal with the rest of it on the 20th.
Right.
Yeah. But I had to bring that to your attention. I just couldn't not do it.
Okay.
So, back to my question. There's the boulders that were moved up against the bank. But then there was also some work done to create a little pad and a walkway or something. Which property was that on? Was that on?
That was on the Goodison property. Yeah.
So it's not just...
The walkway was on Moran, Mr. Moran's property.
The walkway?
Walkway? What walkway is that? You were proposing a set of steps, granite
No,
steps.
Oh, that's...
Yeah.
Oh, this is different.
Initiated, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Guys all set? I'm going to try this again. Come on up, Mr. Moran.
Again, Jack Goodison, 55 Lakeshore. What was witnessed on my property was a rebuilding of an existing wall. I went through this with Steve Zisk when I bought the property. I also came in front of the board when I wanted to make repairs to my old docks, and I was told that it wasn't necessary to do any paperwork. If it was an existing dock, I could repair it. So yes, under Steve's guidance, when I showed him my whole waterfront, was to wait until the wintertime, until the water was down, where you could walk out there, and that was all I had to do. Did I get a little carried away with building steps in? I did, but I used what was already there. It used to be just a kind of a U-shaped embankment, but it was all falling down. I put it all back together. The gentleman that you spoke to works for me. His name is Jimmy, and yes, he brought down a load of rocks to kind of finish it off. So the facts are I did do it. I did it under direction of, not under direction, under guidance from Steve, as well as I rebuilt both of my docks under Steve guidance. So I think there's a difference between fixing a broken wall and maybe in that situation, building something new. But if I did something wrong, I did something wrong, but I did it with advice.
My whole thought on what Mr. Goodison has done is that, at most, it requires some kind of after-the-fact permit. It's all stuff that I think is permittable if he's just rebuilding.
For tonight, let's just finish this here up, and then on the 20th, we can take up the new stuff.
Okay. I think we're done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Get a motion to close the meeting?
No, we're done with the public hearing, so it's just an adjournment.
Meeting to adjourn. Motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Oh, we have, sorry, Mr. Chairman, we have minutes.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
I could make a recommendation on both sets of minutes as I reviewed them both, as they appear to be in order. We'll to recommend approval of both sets.
But Matt can't make a motion.
Make a motion that...
Can you state the dates? So the dates are October 16 and November 20, 2023.
October 16th and November
20.
We got a motion? Second?
Second.
Vote?
Mark Mangum, aye.
Jim Farr, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Joe Fitzpatrick, aye.
Amen.
Katie Dudley, aye.
Thanks, Kate.
Thank you, Kitty.
Can we get a...
Was that for one of them? Excuse me.
That was for both.
That's both of them.
It was for both?
Yes.
Good.
Motion to adjourn?
Can I ask a quick question before we adjourn? What did you guys decide with Lakeshore? I didn't hear a vote. Are you going to do a site walk, or are you waiting for some supplemental information yet?
They're going to update the plan that they gave us, and then as far as the new stuff, we're going to deal with that on the 20th.
Okay.
We added a meeting on the 20th that wasn't on.
Yeah, I saw that on the
Okay.
agenda. I figured you guys would end up approving that.
So,
Thank you.
yep.
Wait, but, so they have to cease, they're not allowed to do any other work without us looking at a plan and dealing with that issue, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, right. I'm basically they're done with it, but
Okay.
we got a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Mark Mangum, aye.
Jim Farr, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Joe, aye.
Katie Dudley, aye.